Welcome back to Worlds of Protheka audiobooks. And if this is your first time, be warned. Once you step into Protheka, you'll never want to leave. With beasts who will stop at nothing to protect the women they love, and women who are only just finding out what a real man can be, you'll lose yourself in the dark romance of these fantasy stories. To bring you these free full audiobooks, we have to listen to this platform's guidelines, and they say that Protheka's steamiest scenes aren't allowed. But you can still get them from the unabridged version of any Prothekan audiobook. All you have to do is go to worldsofprotheka.com. With promo code YouTube30, we're offering you the opportunity to get 30% off of any audiobook, ebook, or bundle. We appreciate you subscribing to the channel, as it makes bringing these free full audiobooks to you possible. Don't forget to like and comment to let us know what you think. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this story is just the beginning. Chapter 1. Erin. The endless snowfall blankets our miserable village in white, making everything look deceptively pure. My hands move mechanically, chopping root vegetables for tonight's stew, while my mind drifts to warmer days. More salt, Mira whispers beside me, her eyes darting to ensure no overseers are within earshot. They'll blame us if it's bland again. I brush the rough scar on my forearm, reaching for the salt cellar. Like they blamed us for the weather last week. A bitter laugh escapes my lips. Remember when Grutknak insisted humans brought the snow with them? Shh. Mira's elbow connects with my ribs. The wooden spoon scrapes against the pot's bottom as I stir, steam rising in lazy spirals. Boiling turnips and mystery meat fills the cramped kitchen, but it's nothing like the aromatic stews my mother used to make. Mother. The memory of her face grows dimmer with each passing year. Sometimes I forget what real food tastes like, I mutter, more to myself than anyone else. Before they came, before the raid. Don't, Mira hisses. You know it only makes things worse. She's right, but the memories flood back anyway. The screams, the smoke, the way the rival orc clan had stormed through our village like a plague of locusts. I'd been 16, barely more than a child, when they dragged me from under my bed. The slave markets followed, then years of scrubbing floors and hauling water, learning to become invisible while staying alert. Your hair's coming loose again, Mira says, yanking me back to the present. My auburn waves have indeed escaped their tight binding, a small act of defiance that could earn me a beating if the wrong overseer notices. The snow continues its relentless descent outside our kitchen window, obscuring the world beyond in a haze of white. 6 years. 6 years of watching seasons change through barred windows, of learning which overseers can be manipulated and which must be avoided at all costs. Mira leans against the counter, her voice dropping to a whisper. Sometimes I dream about opening my own tavern. Really? I arch an eyebrow while continuing to stir. Not a brothel filled with handsome human men ready to fulfill your every whim. Her cheeks flush. I'm being serious, Erin. So am I, though I suppose a tavern makes more sense. You'd actually get to keep your clothes on while serving drinks to sweaty orcs. I tap the spoon against the pot's rim. Just imagine, the shackled maiden, where every 10th ale comes with a complimentary beating. You're impossible. Mira shakes her head, but I see the hint of a smile. What about you? What do you dream about? Oh, you know, the usual. I sprinkle another pinch of salt into the stew. Burning this place to the ground, dancing in the ashes, maybe taking up needlepoint afterward. I hear it's very therapeutic. And after that? The question catches me off guard. After. Such a dangerous word. After? I thought I'd try my hand at orc hunting. Make it a sport. Award points based on size and ugliness. You can't joke about everything. Watch me. I taste the stew, grimacing. Though right now I'd settle for ingredients that didn't taste like they were scraped off the bottom of someone's boot. At least boots have flavour, Mira mutters. True. Maybe we should suggest that to the kitchen master. Excuse me, sir, but might we boil your left boot for tonight's special? The sound of heavy footsteps in the corridor silences us both. My fingers tighten around the wooden spoon, knuckles white, but I keep my tone light. Speaking of our beloved masters. The kitchen's relative peace shatters as heavy boots thunder down the corridor. I exchange a quick glance with Mira before returning to stirring the stew, keeping my head down as the door crashes open. All slaves! Main courtyard! Chief's orders! The overseer's voice booms through the cramped space. Now! Snow crunches under our feet as we shuffle into formation. My thin clothes offer little protection against the biting cold, but I've learned to keep my shivering subtle. Chief Mazgrak stands on the elevated platform, adorned with pelts and trophies. The northern ruins hold treasures, he announces, yellow teeth bared in what passes for an orcish smile. We march at dawn, taking 10 humans. My stomach drops as his beady eyes scan the crowd. One by one he points out his chosen sacrifices. Each name rings like a death knell. The skinny redhead, he grunts, finger aimed at me. You'll do. Beside me Mira's breath catches. No, she whispers, the last group. Silence! An overseer's whip cracks the air. Everyone knows what happened to the last scavenging party's humans. Some were used as trap detectors, others as bargaining chips with rival clans. None returned. My father was one of those who never returned. I remember the same cruel announcement from Chief Mazgrak, his same pointed finger. You'll need someone who knows herbs, Father had told Chief Mazgrak that day, stepping forward before they could select me instead. I was a healer before. I squeeze my eyes shut, trying to block out his final words. The way he'd smiled at me, mouthing stay safe before they marched him away. 6 years, and the pain still feels fresh as a new burn. They're gathering supplies, Mira whispers, her shoulder pressing against mine. Maybe this time. Don't. The word comes out sharper than intended. Just don't. But your father might still be... Might still be what? My laugh sounds hollow even to my own ears. Living like a king in some ruined castle? Trading healing tips with friendly ghosts? The bite in my voice makes her flinch, but I can't stop. Nobody comes back from the ruins, Mira. The lucky ones die quickly. The snow soaks through my thin shoes as we stand at attention. Chief Mazgrak continues selecting his human sacrifices, each choice punctuated by quiet sobs or desperate pleas. He saved you, Mira says softly. Your father, by volunteering. And now I get to follow in his footsteps anyway. I dig my nails into my palms, focusing on the pain rather than the memories. Funny how things work out, isn't it? The wind picks up, carrying snowflakes that sting like tiny needles against my face. Somewhere in those ruins, my father's bones lie unburied. Tomorrow, I'll walk the same path he did, into the same darkness that swallowed him whole. At least, I whisper, more to myself than Mira, he won't have to watch me die too. Pack light, Chief Mazgrak continues. You'll carry our supplies. The crowd disperses, leaving us chosen ones standing in the thickening snow. An older man, Thomas I think, slumps to his knees. Get up, I hiss, grabbing his arm. Don't show weakness, not now. We're dead anyway.
Chapter 2. Draegar. The council chamber's thick wooden walls do little to contain the rising tensions. A dozen clan leaders crowd around the long table, their voices echoing off the rafters as another argument breaks out. The southern hunting grounds are picked clean. Grokmar pounds his fist on the table. My warriors need more than scraps. Your warriors? Thulga sneers from across the table. What about the rest of us? My people haven't seen fresh meat in weeks. I lean forward, my leather armor creaking. The winter stores were divided fairly. Fairly? Thulga's laugh carries no humor. Easy for you to say, sitting pretty as Malgarn's pet. The insult stings, but I keep my voice steady. Watch your tongue, Thulga. I earned my place, same as any warrior here. Then earn it now, Grokmar challenges. Tell us how we're supposed to feed our people when the game's gone and the ground's still frozen. A murmur of agreement ripples through the chamber. The scent of sweat and frustration fills the air, mixing with the smoke from the central hearth. We could send more hunting parties north, I suggest, though I already know the response. And lose more warriors to the frost? Thulga scoffs. The chamber erupts in shouts of agreement. My fingers dig into the wooden armrests of my chair as I watch decades of carefully maintained order threatening to unravel over empty bellies. Enough! My voice cuts through the chaos. Korgath's laugh rings through the chamber, a harsh sound that grates against my ears. Look at him, acting like he has any real power here. Tell me, Draegar, how many battles have you actually won lately? Or are you too busy playing nursemaid to the chief? I don't give him the satisfaction of a response. The leather of my armor creaks as I lean back, studying the crude tribal markings on his face. Fresh ones, probably carved there to impress someone. Probably failed. The heavy door groans open, and Chief Malgarn's imposing figure fills the entrance. His skull-adorned armor catches the torchlight, casting grotesque shadows across the walls. The scent of honey mead and feminine oils clings to him. My apologies for the delay. His gravelly voice carries no trace of actual remorse. Important matters required my attention. Important matters indeed. The slight dishevel of his hair and the fresh scratch marks on his neck tell a different story. Vara, most likely. She's always had a thing for power. Or maybe Grisha. She's been eyeing the chief position for her son. Malgarn settles into his throne-like chair at the head of the table, the wood groaning under his weight. Now, what's all this commotion about? The chamber erupts into chaos. Thulga and Grokmar try to outshout each other, while Korgath gestures wildly about resource distribution and my supposed incompetence. Their words tumble over each other in an unintelligible mess. Malgarn raises one massive hand, and silence falls immediately. His red eyes fix on me, calculating as always. Draegar, you've been quiet. Tell me what's really happening here. I meet Malgarn's gaze steadily, my fingers drumming against the table's weathered surface. The truth is simple. We're operating at maximum capacity with our current stores. Every scrap of food has been accounted for, distributed based on need and function. Need and function? Thulga spits. My warriors. Your warriors, I cut in, receive the exact same portions as mine. As do the healers, the craftsmen, and every other member of this clan who keeps us alive through this winter. The beads in my braids click together as I lean forward. Take food from the healers. And who tends to your warriors when they're bleeding out? Strip rations from the craftsmen. And who repairs our weapons, our armor? My palm flattens against the table. We're balanced on a knife's edge. Tip it even slightly and we all fall. Malgarn's expression remains unreadable, but I notice the slight nod barely perceptible in the flickering torchlight. The greenhouse, Grokmar starts. Produces exactly what it can, Malgarn interrupts, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. Draegar speaks truth. This winter has been... He pauses, his red eyes scanning the room. Particularly unforgiving, but altering rations now would be suicide. A collective groan rises from the council members. Thulga slams his fist on the table, making the cups rattle. Korgath opens his mouth to protest. Malgarn rises, his skull-adorned armor casting grotesque shadows in the torchlight. Enough. I have a solution. The chamber falls silent, save for the crackle of the hearth fire. Even the wind outside seems to hold its breath, waiting for our chief's next words. "The northern ruins," Malgarn announces, his voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. "That's where we'll find our salvation." My stomach drops. The beads in my hair click as I shake my head. "Chief, the ruins are full of supplies left by the old world," he interrupts. "Food, weapons, medicine, everything we need." "And radiation," I counter. "Toxic air, collapsed buildings that crush the unwary, not to mention the things that live there now." Thulga's laugh is sharp and bitter. "Scared, Draegar?" "Cautious," I correct. "We've lost too many warriors to those ruins. The risk is necessary," Malgarn cuts in again. His red eyes lock onto mine. "And you will lead this expedition." The chamber falls silent. Even the fire seems to dim. My fingers grip the edge of the table, the wood rough against my calloused skin. Malgarn rises, his armor catching the firelight. "Prepare your warriors. Choose your support staff." His lip curls at the euphemism for human slaves. "You leave at dawn." "How many warriors?" I ask, already calculating losses in my head. "Decide that for yourself." He waves his hand dismissively. "This meeting is adjourned." The other council members file out, their whispers echoing off the walls. Some sound pleased. Better my warriors than theirs. Others seem worried. If I fail, who will Malgarn send next?
Chapter 3. Erin. The leather straps bite into my shoulders as the orc handler secures the last buckle of the scavenging pack. Metal clinks against metal, pots, tools, and whatever else they've decided I'll carry for them. The weight threatens to pull me backward, but I've learned to compensate by leaning forward. "Move faster, meat," growls the orc, securing my leash. His tusks jut out at odd angles, one broken halfway, giving him a perpetual snarl. The leather cord connects to a metal collar around my neck, a constant reminder of my status here. The scavenging party consists of 6 orcs, each more grotesque than the last. Their skin ranges from sickly green to mottled grey, covered in tribal tattoos and ritual scarification. The leader, who I hear the others call Gruknath, towers above the rest. His shoulders are broad enough to block out the morning sun, decorated with skulls, some human, some not, hanging from leather cords. 2 of the younger orcs argue in their guttural language, shoving each other. Their armour is a patchwork of stolen pieces, human-made plates mixed with crude orcish metalwork. The waft of unwashed bodies and rancid leather makes my eyes water. "The meat better keep up," says a female orc, her face painted with red clay in spiralling patterns. She carries a spear decorated with human finger bones. Last one tried to run, fed him to the wargs piece by piece. I keep my eyes down, but my mind catalogues every detail. The way the leader favours his right leg, how the youngest one's armour leaves his left side exposed. The female's spear hand, steadier than the others, marking her as the most dangerous. The broken-tusked orc yanks my leash. "Move." We set out, leaving the relative safety of the camp behind. I'm not the only human in this group. There are 3 others, each laden with packs and secured to their handlers. None of us look at each other. We know better than to show any sign of solidarity. The sun hangs low on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of blood. My legs shake with each step, and the pack's weight threatens to snap my spine. We've been walking for hours, stopping only when the orcs need to mark territory or argue about direction. My stomach cramps, a familiar pain that's become sharper since breakfast, if you can call a mouldy crust of bread breakfast. The metal collar chafes against my collarbone, raw skin burning beneath. "Nothing here either," The female orc spits on the ground. Waste of time. Gruknath yanks a bone from his collection and hurls it at her. Shut your mouth, Raska. The chief's orders were clear. I stumble over a root, catching myself before I fall. The last human who fell got dragged for half a mile before they noticed. The memory of his screams still haunts me. Getting dark, says Broken Tusk, tugging my leash. Meat's slowing down. All the meat's slowing down. Another orc grunts, shoving one of the other humans forward. Useless things. My vision blurs at the edges. The pack shifts, and something inside clinks against my spine. Each step sends jolts through my hips, my bones feeling like they might shatter. Father never came back from one of these missions. Now I understand why. Raska stops suddenly, raising her spear. Track marks, fresh ones. The orcs cluster together, forgetting about us humans for a moment. We stand there, swaying under our burdens, none of us daring to sit despite our exhaustion. Could be food, Gruknath says, crouching to examine the ground. Could be trouble, Raska counters. My knees buckle slightly. The other humans look as bad as I feel, hollow-cheeked, eyes sunken, skin pale and clammy. One of them, an older man, has a wet cough he's trying to suppress. We follow, Gruknath decides, standing up, getting too far from camp to return empty-handed. The tracks lead us to a structure half buried in snow, its walls crumbling like rotting teeth. My heart skips a beat when I spot the faded lettering above what must have been the entrance. Though most orcs can't read human script, I can make out Blick Lieber. Inside, Gruknath orders, shoving me forward. Meat first. If anything's waiting in there, better it gets you than us. The broken tusked orc releases my leash, giving me enough slack to enter. Snow crunches under my feet as I step through the gap where doors once stood. The air inside hits my face. Stale, musty, with an underlying sweetness that makes my throat tight. Paper. Hundreds, maybe thousands of decomposing books. What is this place? Raska's voice echoes off the vaulted ceiling. Shafts of dying sunlight pierce through holes in the roof, illuminating dancing dust motes. My boots crunch on broken glass and fragments of what might have been display cases. Shelves stretch into the shadows, some still standing, others collapsed like fallen dominoes. Books litter the floor, their pages yellow and brittle. Human nest, a small orc says, kicking a tome across the floor. Useless. But I know better. This was a library, a place of knowledge. My mother used to tell me stories about them before the orcs came, before everything changed. A memory surfaces, sitting on her lap while she traced letters with her finger, teaching me to read. The collar feels tighter around my neck. Spread out, Gruknath commands. Look for anything valuable. Metal, weapons, tools. The orcs drag us deeper into the building, their torches casting grotesque shadows on the walls. Water damage has destroyed most of the books on the lower shelves, creating a pulpy mess that squishes under our feet. My pack shifts as I'm forced to climb over a fallen bookshelf. Something catches my eye. A book, its cover still intact, protected from the elements by the shelf that fell over it. I look away quickly, not wanting the orcs to notice my interest. Knowledge is dangerous. Knowledge is power. And slaves aren't supposed to have either. Gruknath kicks a pile of books, sending them scattering across the floor. Worthless human garbage, no food, no weapons. At least it's shelter, Raska says, jabbing her spear at a dark corner. Temperature's dropping. We stay here tonight. I run my finger over the spine of the heart book, its leather binding cracked but still holding together. I can't stop myself from pulling it down. The symbols blur before my eyes, familiar yet foreign. Mother used to sit with me in our tiny kitchen, pointing at letters in a worn cookbook. This means apple, she'd say, her finger underlining each word. And this is cinnamon. The memory hits me. I blink hard, forcing back tears that would only earn me a beating. "Set up the bed," Broken Tusk orders, yanking my leash. "Against that wall." I pull my pack off, grabbing his bedroll and laying it out. My shoulders scream in relief, but I keep my face neutral. Show no weakness, show no strength. Survive. "What's that meat?" The younger orc notices the book in my hand. He snatches it away, turning it upside down and sideways. "Playing with trash?" "Probably can't even read it," Raska laughs, settling down near a makeshift fire they've started with torn pages. Dumb as livestock, these ones. I let my hair fall forward, hiding my expression. She's right. The letters swim meaninglessly now. Years of survival left no room for reading. But I remember how it felt, curled up in my mother's lap, the words flowing like music. "Apple," she'd whisper, her breath warm against my ear. "Cinnamon. Sugar." The recipe had been for her special autumn pie. The one she never got to make again after the raids came. The fire crackles, consuming pages of history, science and stories. Knowledge turning to ash while my people's legacy burns away, one book at a time. Chapter 4. Erin. Broken Tusk yanks my chain, leading me through the maze of toppled shelves. "Find something useful, meat, or you won't eat tonight." The torch he carries casts dancing shadows across rows of books. My stomach growls at the mention of food, but I've learned to ignore such things. Instead, I focus on scanning the debris: metal clasps from books, copper wire from old light fixtures, anything that might satisfy them. "Over there," he grunts, pointing to a section where the ceiling's partially collapsed. Snow drifts in through the gap, coating everything in a crystalline layer. I wade through the knee-deep snow, pushing aside waterlogged books. The cold seeps through my thin clothes, but I keep searching. A glint catches my eye, something metallic beneath a fallen shelf. As I go for it, another book tumbles from above. The cover's mostly intact, protected by its position under an overhang. Red fabric, faded but still visible, with gold embossing. A heart shape decorates the centre, and within it, two figures embrace. Humans like in Mother's stories, the man in something called a suit, the woman in a flowing dress. My fingers brush the cover before I can stop myself. Romance. That's what my mother called these stories. Tales of love and hope and happiness, things that don't exist anymore. "What's taking so long?" Broken Tusk jerks the chain. "Found anything worth keeping?" I quickly grab the metal piece I spotted earlier, part of an old filing cabinet, and hold it up. "Just this." He snatches it, examining the rusty metal with a sneer. "Keep looking." I shuffle forward, but my eyes drift back to the novel. For a moment I see my mother's face, lit by candlelight, as she reads to me about princes and happy endings. Before I learned that real stories only end one way, in chains or in death. The orcs settle into their camp, their massive forms huddled around the fire. They're too busy arguing over the meagre findings of the day to notice me sliding the book beneath my thin blanket. My chains rattle softly as I position myself where the firelight barely reaches. Father's voice echoes in my memory. Each letter makes a sound, little one. Together they tell stories, hours spent tracing letters in dirt, practicing when the overseers weren't watching. His final gift to me before that last scavenging mission. I open the book carefully, its pages surprisingly intact. The first chapter introduces something called Valentine's Day. I trace the unfamiliar word. "A celebration of love," I whisper, so quiet even I can barely hear it. "Where people exchange cards and gifts to show their affection." The concept feels alien. A whole day dedicated to love. The book describes red paper hearts, flowers, and something called chocolate. People giving each other trinkets just to make them smile. David watched Sarah's face light up as she opened the heart-shaped box. I read, puzzling over each word. Inside, nestled in paper, were 12 perfect chocolates. A grunt from one of the orcs makes me freeze, but he's just shifting in his sleep. I return to the story, drinking in descriptions of a world where people had time for such frivolous things, where they could express feelings without fear of showing weakness. My father used to sneak me extra scraps of bread, sliding them into my pocket when no one was looking. Was that his version of Valentine's Day? His way of saying what couldn't be spoken in our world? I turn another page, careful not to let the firelight catch the paper too obviously. The characters in the story are about to share their first kiss, and despite everything, I find myself wanting to know what happens next. A war cry pierces the night, jolting me from Sarah and David's romantic dinner. Broken Tusk leaps to his feet, yanking my chain so hard I sprawl forward. The romance novel slides into my pack just as he drags me toward the commotion. "We're being ambushed!" someone shouts. The warning ends in a wet gurgle. My heart hammers as Broken Tusk pulls me along, using me as a shield while he draws his blade. Shadows dance across the library walls, larger, more numerous than our group. The metallic smell of blood mingles with mouldy books. "Behind the shelves!" An orc crashes through a bookcase, sending volumes flying. An axe protrudes from his chest. "Kill the humans!" Broken Tusk's voice booms through the library. "Don't let them talk. They can't give away our clan's location." Broken Tusk's levels a look at me, all previous pragmatism replaced by cold fury. His massive hand wraps around my throat, lifting me off the ground. The chain between us rattles, a reminder of my bondage. Nothing personal, meat. His grip tightens. Just business. My lungs burn. I kick out, but my feet only find air. The edges of my vision darken as my fingers claw at his hand. The romance novel slips from my pack, landing in the snow with a soft thud. "Hurry up!" someone shouts through the chaos. "They're breaking through!" The sound of fighting grows closer. Blood pounds in my ears as I fumble at my belt, searching for the small shard of metal I'd hidden there weeks ago. Not a weapon, just a piece of scrap I'd been saving to trade for extra food. Now it might save my life. If I can reach it. Broken Tusk squeezes harder. "Die quiet." My fingers close around the shard. I drive it into his wrist, right between the bones. He howls, grip loosening just enough for me to gasp a breath. But the chain keeps me tethered to him, and his other hand comes up, this time with a knife. "Should have done this months ago," he snarls. The blade descends. I twist, but the chain limits my movement. There's nowhere to go, no way to escape. The knife's edge catches the firelight, and I think of my father, wondering if this is how he felt in his final moments. The chain pulls taut as Broken Tusk draws back for the killing blow. From the depths of the darkness of Protheka,
or clawing up from the realms of fantasy,
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
these monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love.
Vampires.
Demons.
Dark elves.
Gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world. To protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Protheka fantasy romance bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Protheka at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
the first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprotheka.com. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this romantasy bundle will make it endless.
Chapter 5. Draegar. Steel clashes against steel, the sound echoing through the crumbling library walls. Blood spatters across ancient texts as bodies hit the floor. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not now. "Fall back to the western corridor!" I shout, parrying a blow from a gray-skinned brute. His tusks are filed to points. Stonefang clan. They're known for their savagery, even by our standards. "We're surrounded." Korgoth, one of my warriors, stumbles backward into a bookshelf. Dusty tomes rain down around him. Copper fills my nostrils as I spear my blade through an attacker's throat. Then we fight our way out. Guard formations. But it's chaos. My warriors are scattered, some already fallen. The other orcs have brought human pack mules along, but someone gives the order to slaughter them. They only care about covering their own hides, and one of their precious slaves falling into the nada of my men means we would have information on their clan. Bodies drop everywhere. A Stonefang warrior charges me, axe raised. "Your head will make a fine trophy for our chief." I catch his weapon with my sword, twist, and slam my forehead into his face. "Your chief can choke on his own blood." I try to reach one of the humans before it can be killed, but the female orc that it's chained to is too quick. "Waste of resources," I growl, but there's no time to intervene. Another Stonefang is already coming at me, and this one's wielding 2 curved daggers. "Getting tired, Draegar?" he taunts, clearly knowing who I am. "Malgarn's pet running out of steam?" My response is a boot to his knee and my blade across his chest. I don't tire. I get angry. The library groans around us, its ancient supports protesting the violence within. Snow drifts in through holes in the ceiling. Blood and snow mix at my feet as I watch Gromak drag his blade across his human's throat. The sight ignites a heavy frustration in my gut. If we can't get resources, then we need information. "Stop!" My voice booms through the library. "New orders. Keep the humans alive." "But sir," Korgoth's blade hovers over his human's chest. "The humans are assets." I cut down a charging Stonefang warrior. "Kill their handlers instead." Some of my warriors hesitate, weighing their options. The battle rages around us, but this moment, this choice, matters more than any clash of steel. Finally, the warriors nod. For once, logic and reasoning has won out. Movement catches my eye through the chaos, a flash of copper in the waning light. Between the towering bookshelves, a human female grapples with a burly orc. Her hair burns like autumn fire against the gray stone walls. "Stay still, you little." Thok yanks the leather tether, but she doesn't stumble like most would. Instead, she drives her elbow back into his gut. The motion lacks the raw power of an orc, but her precision makes Thok double over. She follows with a kick to his knee that would make any warrior proud. "I'm not dying here," she spits, voice raw but unwavering. Her fingers work at the knot of her tether, even as she dodges the orc's wild swing. I've never seen one of them fight back like this. Most humans collapse into terror when death approaches. But her, there's steel in her spine and fire in her movements. The orc recovers, drawing his blade. I'm going to enjoy this slowly. My sword finds his throat before he can finish the threat. His blood sprays across the dusty floor as he crumples. "Are you—" I turn toward her, but the words die on my tongue. The tether dangles empty, torn clean through. Somehow, in those few seconds of dealing with Thok, she's vanished into the maze of bookshelves. Only a few drops of blood and scattered pages mark where she stood. Stealthy little thing, I think to myself. I don't have time to follow the girl before I'm charged at by another mammoth-sized orc. Blood drips from my blade as I swing it in a wide arc, catching 2 stone fangs across their chests. "That's the best you've got! Keep pushing!" I drive my knee into another's gut, following through with an elbow to his temple. They're breaking formation. The remaining stone fangs back away, their confidence shattered. My reputation precedes me. Draegar, the one who's never lost a battle. I twirl my sword, the familiar weight and extension of my arm. "Run back to your chief!" I growl, baring my tusks. "Tell him what happens when you cross our territory." They scramble over fallen bookshelves, leaving their dead behind. The library falls silent, except for our heavy breathing and the whistle of wind through broken windows. "Search the bodies," I order, wiping my blade clean. "Anything useful comes with us." Korgath kicks over a corpse. "What about the humans?" A weak cough draws our attention. In the corner, a boy no older than 12 shivers, his clothes soaked in blood that isn't his. "Just this one left," Gromak mutters, rifling through a dead stone fang's pockets. "Rest got killed in the fighting. Waste of good labor." I stride over to the small and wiry boy. He doesn't flinch, either too tired or too broken to care. "Get him some water." "Sir." Korgath pauses his looting. "He's half dead already. Why waste?" "That wasn't a suggestion. We camp here," I declare, sheathing my sword. "Stack the bodies by the entrance. They'll keep any wolves busy." My warriors grunt in acknowledgement, dragging corpses across the floor. The boy huddles closer to the wall, watching us with hollow eyes. "Here." I toss.
Chapter 6. Erin. The orcs' snores echo through the library's hollow halls. I count their breaths, waiting for the deep, rhythmic pattern that signals true sleep. I follow the rough stone walls as I creep past their sleeping forms, keeping to the shadows. Freedom waits beyond these walls. Just a few more steps. The exit looms before me, a gaping mouth into the darkness. My hands shake as I reach the threshold, and the wind hits me like a slap across the face. The bitter cold seeps through my threadbare clothes, stealing my breath. No, no, no. The words barely escape my lips as I rest myself against the doorframe. Beyond, there's nothing but endless white and howling wind. The storm's gotten worse since we arrived. My legs give out, and I slide down the wall. The rough stone catches at my hair, but I barely notice. After everything, the fight, breaking free from that leash, hiding for hours, to be stopped by something as simple as weather. A hysterical laugh bubbles up. I clamp my hand over my mouth, tears freezing on my cheeks. The book in my pack digs into my spine, a cruel reminder of stories about freedom and love, things I'll never have. The wind whips past again, and my whole body shudders. Even if I made it past the snow, past the cold, where would I go? Every direction looks the same, white emptiness stretching to the horizon. I'd be dead before sunrise. My nails dig into my palms as I force back a sob. So close. So damn close. I squeeze my forehead against my knees, trying to make myself smaller, trying to disappear. The wind huffs, mocking my weakness, my failure. But I can't stay here. If they find me... On trembling legs, I force myself to stand. One step back, then another, away from freedom, away from certain death, back into captivity. Through gaps in the ancient shelving, I study the orcs' sleeping forms. Their massive bodies sprawl across the floor like fallen trees, weapons within arm's reach even in sleep. The fire casts dancing shadows across their green skin, making their tusks seem longer, more menacing. A whimper breaks through my observations. The boy. He's curled into himself, shivering despite being closest to the dying fire. These orcs saved him, but they've done nothing to tend to him since. My fingers brush against the Valentine's book in my pack. I should run. I should hide. I should... My bare feet ghost across the floor, each step calculated. The leader's massive form rises before me like a mountain of muscle and scars. His chest rises and falls with deep, even breaths. The knife lies beside him, its blade reflecting the dying embers. My fingers hover over the hilt. One wrong move, one tiny sound. I wrap my hand around the grip. The metal's cold bites my palm as I lift it. Careful. So careful. His breathing doesn't change as I settle my weight across his torso, thighs bracketing his massive chest. The position makes me feel small, vulnerable. But the knife in my hand steadies me. The blade kisses his throat, right above where his pulse thrums strong and steady. One quick slash and... His eyes snap open, dark, intelligent, not a hint of sleep in them. He doesn't move, doesn't tense, just stares at me with an expression I can't read. The knife trembles against his skin, but I press it harder, letting him feel the edge. His lips curl into a smirk, and my grip on the knife tightens. The metal bites into his thick skin, drawing a thin line of dark blood. "Take me home," I whisper, the words scraping against my dry throat. "Now." He doesn't flinch, doesn't even acknowledge the blade at his throat. Instead, his eyes study my face with an intensity that makes my skin crawl. "And where might that be?" The word catches. My hands start to shake. "Perhaps you'd like to lead me to the clan that kept you chained." His voice carries a hint of amusement that makes my blood boil. "I'd be most grateful for the information." The knife presses deeper. More blood wells up, but still he doesn't react. "Shut up." "No home, then?" His dark eyes bore into mine. "No place to run to?" The truth of his words hits like a mace. My village was raided and burned years ago. Nothing left but ashes and memories. The knife wavers. My vision blurs, but I blink the tears away before they can fall. "That's what I thought." He speaks softly, almost gently, like he's talking to a spooked animal. The comparison makes me want to slit his throat, just to wipe that knowing look off his face. But he's right. I have nowhere to go. No plan beyond this moment. Just the desperate actions of a cornered rat. The knife feels heavier with each passing heartbeat. My arms ache from holding the position, and the cold seeps deeper into my bones.
Chapter 7. Draegar. The human's tears splash onto my face, each drop burning like acid against my weathered skin. Not from pain, but from the sheer awkwardness of the situation. Her small frame shakes with each sob, the knife in her hand trembling against my throat. "Stop that," I grunt, propping myself up on my elbows. "You're getting my armor wet." This only makes her cry harder, her shoulders heaving. The knife drops to the ground as she covers her face with her hands. "What in the seven hells?" Korgath's gravelly voice carries across the room. "Go back to sleep," I command, but it's too late. More of my warriors stir, their confused muttering filling the library's dusty air. Is she crying?" Thulak asks, scratching his head. "No, she's singing a battle hymn," I snap. "Of course she's crying." The human hiccups between sobs, still perched on my chest like some distressed bird. I face down charging bears with less confusion than I feel right now. "Listen," I say, trying to keep my voice low and even. "If you could just..." "I don't want to die," she chokes out. "Not like my father. Not like the others. Nobody's going to..." Another loud sob cuts me off. "Draegar's got himself a weepy one." Korgath chuckles. "Shut it," I growl, "or you'll be on latrine duty for a month." The human's tears show no sign of stopping. My armor's getting soaked, and the situation's getting more ridiculous by the second. Warriors are sitting up now, some pointing, others trying to stifle their laughter. "Please," I say through gritted teeth, "just stop crying." She wipes her nose with the back of her hand. I can't. Thulak lunges forward, his meaty hand reaching for the human's hair. My arm shoots out, blocking his advance. Stand down, I order, my voice cutting through the tension. No one touches her. But did I stutter? The words rumble from deep within. The humans stay alive. That's an order. The girl's tears have dried, replaced by something fiercer. Her jaw clenches, knuckles white around the knife handle. You need to get off me now, I say, keeping my tone measured. This little display isn't helping anyone. Screw you! She leaps for the knife again and presses it harder against my throat. Metal bites into skin, drawing a thin line of warmth. The room shifts, weapons half drawn, muscles tensed. These warriors would tear her apart in seconds. Stand! Down! I repeat to my men, not breaking eye contact with the human. Her eyes are red-rimmed but steady, holding more steel than the blade she wields. But she's going to... Korgath starts. If I wanted your opinion, I'd beat it out of you. My words slice through his protest. Now, back off. All of you. The sound of shuffling feet fills the library as my warriors retreat, though I can feel their restless energy crackling through the air. One wrong move and this situation will spiral beyond my control. Understand that I have to do this! In one fluid motion, I twist the knife from her grip, the metal singing against my calloused palm. She tumbles backward as I push her off, but catches herself like a cat. Those green eyes flash with murderous intent. Korgath, the rope! I'll kill you, she spits, backing away. I'll kill all of you in your sleep. Ambitious. I rise to my feet, dusting off my armor. But you'll need better knife skills for that. She launches herself at me, all nails and fury. I catch her wrists mid-swing, surprised by the strength behind such a small frame. Let go! She thrashes against my grip. I won't be your slave! No, I agree. You won't. Confusion flickers across her face as Korgath approaches with the bindings. Her struggle intensifies, feet kicking at my shins, head whipping back and forth like a trapped animal. The scream that tears from her throat as we bind her hands echoes off the library walls, sending dust cascading from ancient shelves. It's raw, primal, the sound of someone who's lost everything, but refuses to break. My warriors shift uncomfortably. They've seen me crush skulls without flinching, but this small human's defiance unsettles them more than any battlefield cry. Impressive lungs, I mutter, checking the knots, but screaming won't help you out here. She responds by trying to headbutt my chin. I can't help but admire her spirit. Most humans we've encountered either cower or beg. This one fights like she's got demon blood in her veins. I crouch down to her level, keeping a safe distance from her bound form. The fire's dying embers cast long shadows across her face, highlighting the determination in those fierce eyes. Got a name, little warrior? She lurches forward and spits. The glob lands on my chest plate, sliding down the worn leather. My warriors tense, hands flying to weapons. You won't get any information out of me, orc bastard, she hisses. Korgath steps forward, hand raised. How dare you speak to the chief like... I raise my palm, cutting him off, chuckling. The shock on my warriors' faces only adds to my amusement. Draegar, Thulak growls. Let me teach her some manners. Stand down. I wipe the spittle from my armor with deliberate slowness. Our guest clearly needs time to warm up to us. Her nostrils flare, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. There's something familiar in that defiance that I see in myself before I learn to channel rage into strategy. I settle back, crossing my arms. The old floorboards creak under my weight. We'll see about that, I think to myself, studying her rigid posture and blazing eyes. Breaking her would be a waste.
This huge orc brings out the animal in me.
In a world where humans have been driven underground, living like rats, is the only way to stay safe from the marauding orcs.
All my life, my only job has been to make sure I have enough to eat.
These orcs of the Burning Sun clan will vow to keep their human mates safe.
There is a nobleness to these giant savages, alpha male warriors who will protect their women at all costs.
Get this complete series of books following the Burning Sun clan for 70% off. Each book is a full-length monster romance that features a giant orc with eyes for his beloved, curvy human. Happily ever after guaranteed.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
This bundle will show you that size really does matter.
Chapter 8. Erin. The wooden gates creak open, revealing a settlement that mirrors the one I left behind like a twisted reflection. Crude huts of timber and animal hide huddle together beneath the shadow of a weathered stone keep. The stench of smoke mingles with the metallic tang of weapon forges. The young boy, whose name is Finnick, trembles, Hazel's eyes clouded with tears. I hold his hand in mine as we're marched through. His teeth chatter, though whether from cold or fear, I can't tell. "Stay close," I whisper, pulling him behind me as we pass groups of orcs sharpening weapons or hauling supplies. Their yellow eyes follow us, hungry and calculating. "I want to go home," Finnick whimpers, pressing his face into my side. "I know, little one." I wrap my arm around his shoulders, shielding him from their stares. "Just keep your eyes on me." A group of orc children dash past, shoving each other and brandishing wooden swords. Finnick flinches at their harsh laughter. One stops to point at us, bearing tiny fangs in a sneer. "Move," our captor growls, shoving us toward the keep. The courtyard we cross is a maze of merchant stalls and fire pits, where hunks of meat turn on spits. My stomach clenches at the sweetness of cooking food, but I focus on keeping Finnick steady as we navigate the rutted ground. "Those humans look soft," a merchant calls out in their guttural tongue. "I'll give you 3 copper pieces for the boy." I bare my teeth, pulling Finnick closer. "Touch him and I'll tear your throat out." The merchant's laughter follows us up the keep's worn steps. Inside, the halls are lit by smoking torches that cast dancing shadows on stone walls covered in crude tapestries depicting battles and hunts. "What's going to happen to us?" Finnick's voice quavers. "Nothing," I say firmly, though my heart races. "I won't let anything happen to you. Promise." The longhouse looms ahead, its massive timber frame decorated with shields and animal skulls. Smoke curls from holes in the thatched roof, carrying the scent of burning pine. My captor, the one I tried to kill, pushes open the heavy door. His hand remains firm on my shoulder, steering me inside. The warmth chases away the bitter cold, but does nothing to ease the tension in my muscles. "Malgarn," he calls out, "found something interesting on the raid." A massive orc sits in a carved wooden throne, his grey-streaked beard braided with gold rings. His eyes fix on me, then Finnick. He's clearly the chief. "Draegar." The chief's voice rumbles. "These the only survivors?" "The others were killed before we could stop it." My captor, Draegar, moves to stand beside the throne. The familiarity in his stance speaks volumes. "This one tried to slit my throat." The chief's laugh booms through the hall. "Did she now?" "With my own knife." "Sounds like you're losing your edge, old friend." I pull Finnick closer as they share a knowing look. Draegar steps closer to Malgarn, his voice dropping low. "They were slaves to the Stone Fang clan." "And you think they know something useful?" Malgarn's red eyes seem to enlarge. "If we can discover their location, we'll ride out the winter with full bellies." They discuss us, like we're pieces on a game board. "Take the boy to the cells," Malgarn commands. "The girl should be kept separate." "No!" I lunge forward, but Draegar's grip locks around my arm. You can't separate us! 2 guards grab Finnick. He screams my name, thrashing against their hold. Stop! I slam my elbow into Draegar's ribs. He's just a child! Enough. Malgarn's voice cuts through the chaos. The boy, you and Will remain in separate cells until we have further use of you both. I throw Draegar a pleading look, but he remains unstirred, amber eyes spearing ahead. I whirl around to face Finnick. Listen to me, Finnick. Remember what I taught you? Make yourself small, stay quiet, and... Watch everything, he finishes, tears streaming down his dirty cheeks. That's right, I'm right here. We're going to be just fine. The words feel hollow, but I have nothing else to give. The leader flicks his wrist, summoning 2 orc guards to drag Finnick and I away into the winding darkness. I scream and thrash in their arms as Finnick wails for his mother. Finally, we reach our holding cells, where they throw us in with a single swoop, the iron teeth of the door hissing shut. I scramble to Finnick's side of the cell. Here, I'm just on the other side of this wall. Can you tap 3 times for me? His small fist raps the stone. The sound echoes through my cell. See? I'll always hear you. I breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that I can still hear him, still try to protect him. Somehow. Stay strong, little fox. My own cell door clangs shut. The space is barely wider than my outstretched arms, with a mouldy straw pallet in one corner and a rusted bucket in the other. Moisture seeps down the rough stone walls, feeding patches of dark moss. A narrow slit near the ceiling lets in a thin blade of grey light. 3 soft taps sound through the wall. I tap back, then press my ear to the stone. His muffled sniffles tear at my heart. The musty scent of the cell triggers a memory I've tried so hard to bury. Another cell. Another clan. The Stone Fang orcs had thrown me into a pit with 5 other captured humans. We'd huddled together for warmth, sharing scraps of food and whispered stories of home. One by one they'd been taken away, for labour, for sport, for worse things. I'd survived by making myself useful, learning their language, and memorising their habits. 3 more taps pull me back to the present. I'm here, I whisper against the wall. I'm not going anywhere. A lie, perhaps, but sometimes lies are kinder than truth. I'd learned that lesson well. I reach into my coat, fingers brushing against the worn leather binding. The book's still there, a small miracle given everything that's happened. Finnick, you still awake? 3 taps answer through the wall. Want to hear something interesting? I settle back, pulling out the book from where I managed to stuff it under my shirt and hide it behind my zipped coat. I found this earlier, before everything. The pages crackle as I open them, squinting in the din filtering through the cell's narrow window. It talks about something called Valentine's Day. Apparently humans used to celebrate it every year. I clear my throat. It says here that people would give each other cards with hearts on them, and little candies, and flowers. What kind of flowers? His voice is muffled but curious. Red ones called roses, and they'd write poems to tell people they loved them. Why? To show they cared, I guess. Listen to this part. On February 14th, children would exchange small cards decorated with cupids. Those are like little flying babies with bows and arrows, and write special messages to their friends. A soft laugh echoes through the wall. Flying babies? That's silly. It does sound silly. I turn the page. Oh, and they'd have special meals together, with chocolate and sweet treats. What's chocolate? My throat tightens. I don't really remember. My father told me about it once. It was brown and sweet, and it would melt in your mouth. Tell me more about the cards. I read until his questions grow fewer and farther between, until they stop altogether. His breathing evens out, soft snores replacing words. The book sits heavy in my lap. Such a strange thing to survive all these years. A reminder of when humans celebrated love instead of just trying to survive. I tuck it back into my coat, close to my heart. Tomorrow will bring whatever it brings, but for now, I have this small piece of the past, this tiny spark of hope. Chapter 9. Erin. The door of my holding cell swings open with a bang. 2 orcs grab my arms, their grip bruising as they drag me from my cell. "Finnick!" I call out, twisting to look back. "Shut it!" one guard growls, shoving me forward. They march me through winding corridors until we reach a chamber lit by flickering torches. The chamber reeks of stale sweat and rotting meat. One of the orcs throws me into a rickety chair, facing a grotesque display of metal and wood. Chains dangle from the ceiling, their links stained dark with what can only be dried blood. A rack dominates the centre of the room, its wooden frame worn smooth from countless bodies. My gaze darts between implements laid out on a nearby table, hooks that gleam in the torchlight, pliers with serrated edges, and things I can't even name. The metal tools click against each other as my guard bumps the table, sending a shiver down my spine. In the corner, a brazier glows orange, and I spot metal rods heating in the coals. I inhale sharply as I remember the scars on another slave's back, the way the skin had bubbled and twisted. Like our collection. The guard's breath is hot against my ear. Chief says we're to start gentle, but that's relative, ain't it? A whimper escapes me as my eyes land on a device that looks like a metal pear. I'd heard whispers about those, about how they expand inside you. The walls feel like they're closing in with each shallow breath. Finnick's face flashes through my mind. I have to stay strong for him. But as I stare at the instruments of pain before me, my resolve wavers. What information could they possibly think I have that's worth all this? The orc with a jagged scar across his jaw leans forward. Where do they keep their grain stores? In your mother's bedchamber. The back of his hand connects with my cheek. My head snaps to the side, but I straighten up, tasting copper. What's wrong? Hit a nerve. A second orc steps into the torchlight, his tusks filed to sharp points. Gold rings pierce his nose and ears, jangling as he moves. The clan's wealth, their trading routes, start talking. You want to know about wealth? I laugh, the sound harsh. They barely feed their slaves enough to keep us standing. What makes you think they're swimming in riches? You're lying. Scarjaw grabs my chin. We know they trade with the mountain clans. Where do they meet? What do they exchange? The mountain clans. So that's what this is about. I keep my face blank, even as my mind races. Never heard of them. The provisions, the ring-adorned orc cuts in. Where do they source them from? Have you considered asking nicely? My arms strain against the ropes. Maybe bring me flowers first? A third orc emerges from the shadows, bigger than the others. His armour bears the marks of countless battles, and a necklace of teeth hangs around his thick neck. You think this is a game, human? No, I think this is a waste of time. You're not the first orcs to try breaking me. I meet his yellow eyes. And you won't be the last. We'll see about that. Tooth Necklace nods to his companions. Bring the hot irons. The iron sizzles against my flesh, and I bite down on my lip until I taste blood. Won't give them the satisfaction of a scream. Ready to talk now? Tooth Necklace's breath reeks of spoiled meat. About what? I manage through gritted teeth. What's the weather? It's been rather chilly lately. Another iron press, this time to my shoulder. The smell of burning flesh fills my nostrils. My stomach heaves, but I force a smile. You're tough for a human, Ring Adorned says, but everyone breaks eventually. Like your mother broke when she saw your face. The words earn me a backhand that snaps my head to the side. Scarjaw grabs my hair, yanking my head back. The mountain roots, now. I spit blood in his face. I hear the views lovely this time of year. The beating that follows blurs together, fists, boots, more burns. I retreat into my mind, to memories of my father teaching me to read by candlelight. To Finnick's smile when I share stories with him. Impressive. Tooth Necklace steps back, wiping sweat from his brow. Most humans would have broken by now. I close my eyes as they reach for fresh irons. Finnick's safety is worth any pain they can inflict. I've survived worse. I'll survive this too. Hours bleed together as the orcs attempt to wean information from me. But I refuse to succumb. Eventually the guards throw me back into my cell. Every movement sends fire through my burned flesh, but I crawl to the wall separating me from Finnick. His muffled sobs tear at my heart. Hey, little one. My voice comes out raspy. Want to hear more about Valentine's Day? A sniffle. They hurt you. Nothing I can't handle. Did you know people used to give each other little cards with hearts on them? Why? To show they cared. I pull the book from my hidden pocket, wincing as the movement pulls at my burns. They'd write poems and sweet messages inside. What kind of messages? Let's see. Pages rustle as I squint in the dim light. Roses are red, violets are blue. What's a violet? It's a tiny purple flower, beautiful little thing. I trace the faded illustration. They'd give chocolates too, sweet treats shaped like hearts. His breathing steadies. I've never had chocolate. One day you will. The promise slips out before I can stop it. Through the gaps in the wall, I catch glimpses of his thin face, cheeks hollow from too many missed meals. Dark circles ring his eyes, making him look older than his 8 years. You think so? I know so. I reach through the gap, finding his small hand. His fingers are like twigs in mine, and we'll eat so much of it our teeth will rot. That's silly. Isn't it just? I shift, biting back a groan as my burns scrape against the wall. Close your eyes, little fox. I'll tell you all about him.
Chapter 10. Draegar. I watch Korgath's thick fingers wrap around the human's throat. Her feet dangle above the ground, but those green eyes of hers never waver. Where is their camp? Korgath's breath hits her face. How many warriors? She doesn't answer. Just like yesterday. Just like this morning. Break her fingers, I say, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. One at a time. Korgath drops her and she lands in a crouch. Before he can grab her hand, she spits blood onto his boots. You'll have to kill me, she says. I won't betray them. Them? I push off the wall. The ones who enslaved you? Who worked you half to death? My footsteps echo as I circle her. Why protect them? She looks up at me through tangled auburn hair. Because there are others like me. Like Finnick. I won't lead you to them. Something twists in me. The determination in her voice, the steel in her spine. It whispers of all the warriors I fought beside. Of brothers who died protecting what they believed in. Again, I order Korgath, but my voice lacks its usual edge. Hours pass. Her screams echo off the walls, but she doesn't break. When Korgath's knuckles are bloody and his patience is spent, I wave him away. She slumps against the wall, breathing heavily. A bruise darkens her jaw, but those eyes, those damn eyes, still burn with defiance. You're protecting slaves, I say. People who would sacrifice you without thought. I'm protecting children. Blood trickles from her split lip. Mothers. People who've never held a weapon. Would your mighty warriors be proud? Slaughtering them? turn away, unable to look at her any longer. "Take her back to her cell," I order the guards. "We'll try again tomorrow." But even as I say it, I know it's pointless. We won't break her. And for the first time in my life, I'm not sure we should. The torches cast long shadows across the dungeon floor as I stand in the darkness, watching. The human woman's voice carries softly through the bars, quiet despite her split lip and bruised face. "My dearest Valentine," she reads from a small book. "I count the days until I see you again." The boy's head rests against the other side of the wall that separates them. Her fingers barely make it through the small hole he rests by, but she strokes them, swollen and purpled, against the boy's hari. My mother's touch ghosts across my scalp, a memory long gone. The way she'd sit beside my bed, weaving tales of our ancestors' great battles, of honor won and lost. The musical lilt of her voice, so different from the war cries that filled my later years. "What's a Valentine?" Finnick's whisper breaks through my memories. "It's..." She pauses, wincing as she shifts position. "Someone you love. Someone who makes your heart feel full, even when everything else is empty." "Like you do for me?" The little human's words grip something in my chest and twist it roughly. Erin's breath catches, and I see her arms tighten around the boy. "Yes, little one, just like that." My mother's words float back to me. A warrior's strength lies not in his arm, but in what he chooses to protect. I'd forgotten those words, buried them beneath years of clan politics and survival. "Tell me more about the hearts," Finnick murmurs, already half asleep. "They used to make them from paper, dozens of them, and hang them everywhere. Red ones, pink ones, all with messages of love written inside." The torch sputters, and I step deeper into the shadows. My hand finds the hilt of my knife, but instead of the familiar comfort, it feels wrong. Heavy. How many times had my mother's story saved me from the darkness? How many nights had her voice been my shield against fear? I watch until Finnick's breathing evens out, and the female's head drops forward in exhaustion, the book still clutched in her raw fingers. I tell myself I'm watching her because it's my duty to assess potential threats, but my eyes keep tracking the way she moves. Even battered and exhausted, there's a grace to her movements as she paces her cell. Her auburn hair catches the torchlight, creating a halo of copper and gold that reminds me of autumn leaves before the first frost. The bruises on her face have darkened to purple, yet they don't diminish her beauty. They highlight it, like war paint on a warrior's face. Her green eyes, sharp as broken glass, constantly scan her surroundings, missing nothing. She's lean, too lean, but there's strength in the way she carries herself. Not the brute strength of my people, but something more resilient. "You should rest," I say, stepping from the shadows. She doesn't startle. "Come to break more of my fingers?" "No." The word comes out softer than intended. "Then why are you here?" I don't have an answer. At least, not one I'm ready to voice. "Your kind enslaved me," she says, moving closer to the bars. "Beat me, starved me. And now you stand there watching me like I'm some curiosity in a cage. You're not what I expected." "And what did you expect? A cowering slave? Someone who'd break at the first sign of pain?" Truthfully, I've seen countless humans in chains, but none like her. None who'd fight back with such fierce determination, yet show such tenderness to a child not their own. "We're not all monsters," I say, though the words ring hollow even to my ears. Her laugh is sharp as a blade. "No? Then what are you?" I don't know anymore, and that terrifies me more than any battle ever has. Her eyes flare, defiance etched in her hollow face. I tear myself away from her cell and find my chambers. Hours pass, and finally, with her face in my mind, I find sleep. The next day, there's a sharp knock at my chamber door that pulls me from my dreams of her. Grukmar, one of the smaller guards, stands in my doorway, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Chief wants the humans taken to the pit. His voice cracks. Says we're being too soft. The pit, where we break the strongest warriors, where screams echo for days until there's nothing left but hollow shells. My hand throbs on the wooden table, splinters biting into my palms. Who gave that order? Chief Malgarn himself. Said to tell you personally. Grukmar's eyes drop to the floor. He wants them there by midday. The boy too? Both of them. Said maybe watching the female break will loosen the kid's tongue. The table creaks under my grip. Images flash through my mind. The female reading to the boy, Finnick. Her fingers gentle in his hair despite her own pain. The way she shields him with her body when guards pass too close. Get out! Sir! I said get out! Grukmar scrambles backward, nearly tripping over his own feet. The door bangs shut behind him, and I'm alone with the rage building. The pit, where we stripped warriors of their honor before ending them, where we'd watch them crack like eggs dropped on stone. And Malgarn wants to put a child in there. I pound the stone wall with a fist, crumbling under the impact. Blood trickles between my knuckles, but I barely feel it. All I can see is Finnick's thin face, hear the woman's voice reading stories of hearts and love in the darkness. What kind of warriors are we to torture children? What kind of leader orders such things? The questions burn like bile. Chapter 11. Draegar. Blood drips onto the stone floor, each drop echoing in the chamber like a hammer strike. Erin's swollen face turns my stomach. Her lip is split, crimson streaming down her chin, and her right eye is swollen shut. It's day 3 of her interrogation, and she has still not yielded to the orc's torture. I crouch before her, close enough to smell the copper tang of her blood mixing with sweat. Just tell them, and they'll stop. Her one good eye meets mine, empty, hollow, like staring into a frozen lake. No hatred, no defiance, not even pain. Nothing. Why do you care? Her words come out thick through her broken lip. I don't. The lie tastes bitter on my tongue. A drop of blood falls from her chin onto my hand. My fingers twitch, fighting the urge to wipe it away. To touch her face. To stop this madness. Then leave. They'll kill you. They'll kill me anyway. She shifts in her chair, the ropes creaking against her raw wrists. Or worse, they'll keep me alive until I'm useful, like your other clan did. My chest tightens, each breath a struggle against the weight pressing down on me. The words I want to say stick in my throat like thorns, choking me with their urgency. I've seen countless interrogations, ordered many myself, watched prisoners break time and time again. Why does this one make my skin crawl? Why do her empty eyes haunt me more than all the screams I've heard before? The boy needs you, I say, my voice rougher than intended. Something flickers in that dead eye. A spark of life, like steel striking flint, quickly extinguished beneath layers of pain and resignation. The boy needs me alive, not broken, she rasps. And I hear the truth in it that makes my tusks ache. The door creaks open behind me, the sound like bones snapping in the heavy silence. Heavy footsteps approach, each one a countdown to what's coming. Time's up. My hands clench at my sides, useless. Last chance, I whisper, willing her to hear what I can't say aloud. She spits blood at my feet, her split lip curling into something between a snarl and a smile. Go screw yourself. Korgath's meaty hand lands on my shoulder. Move aside. Time to make her sing. My fingers curl into fists as I rise, towering over him. The familiar weight of authority settles over me like armor. We're done here. What? He blinks, confusion twisting his scarred face. But the chief wants information. She won't give it. I gesture to Erin's battered form. Look at her. Really look. 3 days and not a single word about the clan. She'd rather die. Then let her die. His lips curl into a snarl as he reaches for his tools. I slam my hand down, the sound echoing through the chamber. And waste a potential asset. Use your head, Korgath. Dead humans tell no tales. Growling, he storms away. Something shifts in the human's expression as she processes my words. The hollow emptiness in her eye gives way to a flicker of curiosity. Hope. Before I can analyze it further, Korgath's voice booms from the doorway. If she won't talk, maybe this will loosen her tongue. My blood runs cold as 2 guards drag Finnick into the chamber. The boy's face is streaked with tears, his thin frame trembling. No! Erin's chair scrapes against stone as she lurches forward, ropes cutting deeper into her wrists. Leave him alone! He doesn't know anything! Korgath. My voice comes out as a low warning, but he ignores me. Tell us about the clan, girl, or the boy gets the same treatment you've been enjoying. Please. Erin thrashes against her restraints, all composure shattered. Blood trickles fresh down her arms where the ropes bite in. He's just a child. Please, don't hurt him. Then talk. I can't. I won't. Her voice breaks. They'll kill everyone if I... Enough! I slam my fist against the wall, making everyone jump. This isn't what I... You don't give orders here, Korgath sneers. The chief wants results. He nods to one of the guards who draws a knife. Finnick whimpers. Erin screams, Stop! Stop, please! He's just a child! The words pour out of her in desperate gasps. He's just a child! The defeat in her voice cuts into my soul. The crack of splintering wood pierces the chamber. Before I can react, Erin launches herself forward, the broken chair pieces scattering across the stone floor. Her movements are pure instinct, like a mother wolf protecting her cub. Don't touch him! Blood and sweat mat her hair to her face as she throws herself in front of Finnick. Her arms spread wide, making herself as large a shield as possible, despite her small frame. Finnick wails into her arm just as Korgath raises his sword, ready to cut her down. Stop!
Protheka is a dark and dangerous world.
My parents sold me to the dark market.
I am the avatar of chaos, and nothing will stop me from fulfilling the prophecy.
And the quest for godhood has made it even darker.
Looks like you're the only one left. Take a step forward.
Delia only seeks her freedom.
A gilded cage is still a cage.
But Thorn has something else in mind for her.
It's her. She's the woman from the prophecy. My key to godhood.
Will they be able to escape their fate? Get every episode from worldsofprotheka.com right now. Get the series bundle and score a 70% discount. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this series is just the beginning.
Chapter 12. Erin. My arms wrap tighter around Finnick as his small frame trembles. Blood trickles down my face, but I don't dare move to wipe it away. The room has gone deadly quiet, save for our ragged breathing. The one who stopped the others from killing Finnick, Draegar, stands before us, his body blocking out the torchlight. His amber eyes lock onto mine, and there's something different in them now. Not the cold calculation I've grown used to seeing, but something else. Something that makes my skin prickle. I said stop. His voice is steel, those curved tusks catching the firelight as he speaks. The other orcs shift uneasily, their weapons still raised. But sir, one of them starts. Draegar's head snaps toward him. Did I stutter? The sharp edges of his fangs flash as he snarls, and even I flinch at the display. Those amber eyes seem to glow with an inner fire as he stares down his subordinates, daring them to challenge his authority. Erin, Finnick whispers, his voice barely a breath. Shh, I murmur against his hair, never taking my eyes off Draegar. I've got you. The orc leader's gaze flicks back to us, those predatory eyes studying our huddled forms. His tusks catch the light again as he works his jaw, like he's chewing on words he can't quite spit out. The tension in the room stretches thin as spider silk, ready to snap at any moment. I press Finnick closer to me, my heart hammering against my ribs. They're different from the cold, predatory stares I've grown used to seeing in orcs. His gaze holds something else, a storm of emotions I can't quite read. The firelight catches the gold flecks in his irises, making them dance like dying embers. My stomach does a strange flip when his eyes meet mine again. The sensation catches me off guard, makes my breath hitch. I tell myself it's just fear, just the adrenaline from protecting Finnick, but deep down I know that's a lie. Sir, Korgath, the one who wants me dead, steps forward, his voice gravelly. Malgarn was clear. We need answers from these humans, whatever it takes. My muscles tense at the mention of their chief. Finnick's small hands grip my shirt tighter. I don't give a damn what Malgarn wants. Draegar's voice cuts through the room like ice. I am your superior, and I say we're done here. We do not torture children. But, did I ask for your opinion? His amber eyes flash dangerously. These humans are coming with me. That's not up for debate. He strides toward us, his massive frame blocking out the torchlight. My heart pounds against my ribs as he reaches for me. Number not again. I won't let them separate us. I lash out, my elbow connecting with his jaw. The impact sends pain shooting up my arm, but I don't stop. I kick, scratch, anything to keep him away from Finnick. Draegar pins me against the wall, his huge hand pressing my shoulder back. His breath is hot against my ear as he whispers, "Stop fighting or you'll both end up dead. Is that what you want?" I freeze, my chest heaving. His words sink in slowly, cutting through the panic. Behind me, Finnick whimpers. "I'm trying to help you," Draegar murmurs, so quietly only I can hear. "But you need to work with me." His grip loosens slightly, and I catch the warning in his eyes. Whatever game he's playing, he's serious about keeping us alive. For now, that'll have to be enough. The moment I stop resisting, my body betrays me. Every bruise, every cut, every aching muscle screams at once. The room spins, and my knees buckle. "Oh crap," I mutter, the words slurring as the stone floor rushes up to meet me. Strong hands catch me before I hit the ground. The world tilts sideways as Draegar hoists me over his shoulder like a sack of grain. My stomach lurches. "Don't you dare throw up on me," he growls. I clench my jaw, fighting back bile. "You deserve it." The leather of his armour presses against my ribs, each breath a sharp reminder of today's beating. Blood rushes to my head, making the nausea worse. I squeeze my eyes shut. "Wait!" Finnick's voice quivers. "I'm right here!" The words come out strained. "Just don't look down!" A grunt, and then Finnick yelps as Draegar scoops him up with his free arm. The boy's small frame dangles like a rag doll against the orc's massive bicep. "You're making a mistake," Korgath's gravelly voice echoes off the stone walls. "Your friendship with Malgarn won't protect you forever." My eyes crack open just enough to see Draegar's head turn. A deep, dangerous laugh rumbles through his chest, vibrating against my bruised ribs. He doesn't bother with a response, just strides toward the door. His heavy footsteps echo through the chamber, drowning out Korgath's impotent threats. The motion of his walk sends fresh waves of nausea through me. I press my forehead against his back, counting breaths until the feeling passes. 1, 2, 3. Just hold on, Draegar mutters so quietly I almost miss it.
Chapter 13. Draegar. The frost bites through my leather armor as I carry these two humans across the plains. The boy, Finnick, has stopped struggling on my shoulder, probably exhausted from the ordeal. The woman, though, she keeps shifting in my arms, testing my grip. Keep still, I mutter, unless you want to walk barefoot through the snow. I'd rather crawl than be carried by you. The wind whips her words away, but I catch them. Better me than one of them. She falls silent at that, though her body remains tense against my chest. The cottage appears through the swirling snow, a simple structure I've maintained for hunting trips, far enough from the settlement that few know of its existence. What is this place? Finnick's small voice pipes up. My house. I shoulder open the door, ducking to enter. The interior smells of old wood and dried herbs. I set them both down, watching as the woman immediately pulls Finnick behind her. Her eyes dart around, assessing exits, weapons, anything she might use. The door doesn't lock from the outside, I say, lighting the hearth. And there's food in the storage chest. You're not prisoners here. Then what are we? I meet her gaze. The firelight catches the bruises on her face, and something twists in my gut. Alive, which is more than you'd be if I'd left you there. I rummage through my storage chest, pulling out clean bandages and healing salves. The woman's eyes track my every movement, her body tensed like a drawn bowstring. The boy huddles against her side, small fingers clutching her torn sleeve. This might sting. I hold up the salve, but it'll prevent infection. She jerks back when I reach for her face. Don't touch me. Fine. Here. I set the supplies between us. Do it yourself, but some of those cuts need attention. Finnick peers at the jars. What's in them? Herbs. Yarrow, mostly. Good for stopping blood. The boy's curiosity seems to soften something in her expression. She picks up one of the jars, sniffing it cautiously. Where did you learn about human medicine? We're not complete savages. I lean back, giving her space. Though I'm sure that's what they taught you. They taught me nothing. Her fingers probe a cut on her cheek. I learned what you are by watching. The bitterness in her voice makes me wince. Not all of us. Spare me the speech. She dabs salve on her wounds with quick, efficient movements. You're still one of them. If I was, you'd be dead. She pauses, green eyes meeting mine. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Then Finnick's stomach growls loudly, breaking the tension. There's dried meat in that barrel. I point without looking away from her. Help yourself, boy. Finn. Her voice stops him. Wait. I understand her meaning. Standing slowly, I walk to the barrel myself and take out a strip of venison. I tear off a piece and eat it, then offer the rest. See? Not poisoned. The boy tears into the dried meat while I settle back against the wall, keeping my distance from them. The woman's eyes haven't left me since I walked in, tracking every movement like a cornered wolf. You haven't told me your name. I keep my voice low, non-threatening. I'm Draegar. She wraps an arm around Finnick's shoulders, pulling him closer. I know. Why did you save us? The question hangs between us. Through the window, snow continues to fall, covering our tracks. Good. It'll make us harder to follow. I don't know. I move toward the side of the room. I just couldn't stand to watch another minute of what they were doing to you. And the way she threw herself in front of the boy. For a while, the only sound that disturbs the silence is the hiss and snap of the fire. Then, finally, the woman speaks. Aaron. Her voice barely carries over the crackling fire. My name is Aaron. I nod, trying not to show how much that small victory means. Standing slowly, I move to the back storage area, conscious of how she tenses at my movement. The bread's still fresh. I'd stocked this place just days ago. Lucky timing. I pull out the loaf along with some smoked rabbit. Here. I set the food on a clean cloth between us. It's better than that dried meat. Finnick's eyes go wide at the sight of real bread. He reaches for it, then freezes, looking at Erin for permission. Go ahead, Finn. She nudges him forward. You need to eat. The boy tears into the bread like he hasn't eaten in days, which I realize with a pang might be true. Slow down, I warn. You'll make yourself sick. Erin, Finnick speaks through a mouthful of bread. You have to try this. It's still soft inside. She shakes her head. I'm fine. You haven't eaten since yesterday. The boy's voice carries a surprising authority. And you gave me half your portion the day before. I watch her face soften at his concern. She reaches for a piece of bread, and I pretend not to notice how her hand trembles. A sharp knock at the door shatters the moment. 3 quick raps, deliberate, demanding. Erin's green eyes flash, and she snatches Finnick behind her, bread forgotten. Her eyes dart between me and the door, muscles coiled for flight. Stay put, I order, walking toward the door. I crack open the door just enough to block the view inside, my bulk filling the frame. Korak stands there, snow dusting his shoulders, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air beneath his withered tusks. Chief wants you in the longhouse. He shifts his weight, peering around me. Says it's urgent. Oh, damn it. Chapter 14. Draegar. The Great Hall's warmth hits me as I enter. Malgarn's private chambers drip with stolen luxuries, tapestries looted from human settlements cover stone walls, their faded scenes of battle and conquest illuminated by ornate bronze braziers. Pelts of rare beasts carpet the floor, and the carved throne he refuses to sit in towers behind his massive desk, adorned with human skulls. Malgarn paces before the hearth, his shadow dancing grotesque across the walls. His grizzled hair swings with each turn, catching the firelight like strands of steel. Those red eyes fix on me as I enter, burning with an intensity that would make lesser orcs flinch. You dare question my authority? His voice scrapes like stone on bone. The boy's a child. The boy is human. He spits the word. And that woman, you let her make fools of us all. Days of interrogation wasted. Torture won't break her. I plant my feet, matching his glare. She'd rather die. Then she should have died. His fist slams into the mantel, sending dust cascading from the stonework. We don't have resources to waste on worthless humans. The clan barely survived winter. Which is exactly why we need information about... Information? He stalks closer, close enough I can smell the mead on his breath. You think I don't see what's happening? The great Draegar, going soft over some human broodmare. My jaw clenches. I serve the clan's interests. Do you? His laugh holds no humor. Then explain to me how harboring 2 useless mouths serves us. Explain how undermining my authority helps us survive. The fire pops and hisses. Malgarn's hair falls wildly around his face, his scarred features twisted in barely contained rage. You've seen her endure it yourself, I say, keeping despite the rage mounting. Days of our worst, and she hasn't broken. That should tell you something. Malgarn's lip curls. It tells me we need to try harder. It tells you she's different. I step forward, gesturing to emphasize my point. How many humans have you seen take that kind of punishment without begging for mercy? Without offering up whatever scraps of information they think might save them? Different or not, she's still just a resource! I cut him off, knowing it's dangerous but unable to stop. You're always talking about resources, about survival. Well, here's a resource we're wasting. Break her body, and we get nothing. Kill her, and we lose everything she knows about our enemies. And what do you suggest? Let me handle this differently. Perhaps it's time we tried something other than the blade. My hands clench at my sides. Give me time to gain her trust. She's protecting something big enough to die for. We need to know what that is. Trust? He barks out a laugh. You think that little brat will ever trust an orc? I think she survived this long by being smarter than most, and I think she'll recognize an opportunity when she sees one. Unless you'd prefer to keep beating a dead end? Malgarn circles his desk, running a finger along its polished surface. You've changed, Draegar. Time was, you'd have gutted these humans yourself. Times change. We need to adapt. Adapt? He snorts. Next, you'll suggest we invite them to dinner. If that's what it takes to get information. By the gods! Malgarn drops into his chair, the wood creaking under his weight. Listen to yourself. This isn't you speaking. This is weakness. I plant my hands on his desk, leaning forward. You taught me that true strength lies in knowing when to use the blade and when to use the mind. Don't throw my words back at me, boy. His voice drops dangerously low. I've known you since you were a babe. I made you my right hand because you understood what needed to be done. I still do. Do you? He leans back, studying me. Then prove it. You want to play nursemaid to these humans? Fine. But they have 1 month to prove their worth. 1 month isn't 1 month. Get me something useful. Information about the rival clan, their defenses, their numbers. Something that justifies keeping them alive. And Draegar, keep them contained. If they escape, if they cause any trouble, I'll have your head alongside theirs. I straighten, nodding once. Understood. And one more thing. He rises, coming around the desk to grip my shoulder. Don't let whatever this is cloud your judgment. You're too valuable to lose over a pair of humans. Trust me, I say, though I'm not sure I trust myself anymore. Malgarn's words clang through me as I walk home through the muddy snow. A month. Just a month to build her trust. The snow crunches under my boots as memories wash over me. Malgarn's training ground materializes in my mind. The blood-soaked dirt, the splintered practice dummies, his voice cutting through the air. Humans are weak, he'd said, demonstrating a killing blow. The noble species survive. That's nature's way. I'd believed him then, lived by those words. But now, I can't erase what I've seen. Erin's determination, her protection of the boy, her unwavering spirit despite days of torture. They're not animals, I mutter, watching my breath cloud in the cold air. They're not tools. The realization hits me like a warhammer. Every raid, every captured human, every time I stood by while they were worked to death or tortured for information. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Malgarn's lessons echo in my head. Mercy is weakness. Compassion gets you killed. But his words ring hollow now. The man who taught me everything I know about leadership and survival suddenly seems smaller, diminished by his own cruelty. I push open my door, muscles tense from the confrontation with Malgarn. The fires burned low, casting long shadows across my sparse furnishings. At first I think they fled, but then I spot them under my heavy oak table. Erin has curled protectively around the boy, one arm draped over him like a shield. Her auburn hair spills across the floor, tangled but catching what little firelight remains. The boy, Finnick, clutches a piece of her clothing, his face pressed into her shoulder. Even in sleep, she positions herself between him and any potential threat. My boots scrape against the floor as I crouch beside them. Dark bruises mottle her pale skin, stark against the white bandages I applied earlier. Her breathing comes shallow but steady, probably from the pain in her ribs. Stubborn woman, I mutter, careful not to wake them as I slide my arms beneath their bodies. She weighs almost nothing, too many missed meals evident in the sharp angles of her frame. The boy's not much better. I carry them to my bed that's twice their size and stuffed with furs. I lay them down gently, ensuring Erin's wounds don't catch on anything. She stirs slightly, a small sound escaping her throat, but doesn't wake. The boy immediately curls into her side, seeking her warmth. I drag my heaviest fur over them both, shielding them from the cool night air. Settling against the wall nearest the bed, I draw my knife and rest it across my knees. No one will harm them tonight. Not while I draw breath. The fire pops, sending sparks dancing. In its dim light, I study their faces. Without the constant mask of defiance, Erin looks younger, almost peaceful. What kind of life has she led, that such peace only comes in unconsciousness? 1 month. 1 month to prove their worth, or Malgarn will have all our heads. I grip my knife tighter, watching shadows play across their sleeping forms.
Chapter 15. Erin. Warmth spills into my bones, and for a moment I forget where I am. The furs beneath me are impossibly soft, nothing like the cold stone floors I'm used to. My eyes flutter open, and the first thing I notice is the dancing shadows on wooden walls, cast by a hearth fire that fills the room with a gentle glow. The first bits of morning light streak through an open window above us. Finnick's small form is curled against me, his chest rising and falling in peaceful sleep. I brush a strand of hair from his face, careful not to wake him. Movement catches my eye. In the corner, Draegar's massive frame hunches over a wooden table, his back to us. The fire highlights the intricate beads woven into his braids as he works at something I can't see. This room is nothing like I expected from an orc's quarters. Dried herbs hang from the rafters, filling the air with an earthy sweetness. Carved wooden figures line crude shelves, bears, wolves, and creatures I don't recognise. A worn leather chair sits beside the hearth, draped with what looks like a half-finished blanket. My gaze drifts to the weapons mounted on the walls, axes and swords that gleam in the firelight. But they're arranged with such care, almost like decorations rather than instruments of death. Finnick stirs beside me, mumbling something in his sleep. I pull the furs higher around his shoulders, watching as he settles back into dreams. The bed we're in must be Draegar's. It's sized for someone 3 times my size. Which means I spot a pile of blankets on the floor near the hearth, clearly slept in. The mighty orc warrior spent the night on the floor of his own home. Through the door, in the corner of the kitchen, I see Draegar preparing something. I see him shake a brown powder into the food, which I can only hope is a spice. The wooden floorboards creak beneath his weight as he walks in, carrying a bowl of hot food. The scent of honey and oats makes my stomach growl embarrassingly loud. Eat. He sets the bowl beside me. The boy's bowl is ready when he's awake. Finnick is still fast asleep beside me. He won't be awake for some time. What's the catch? I push myself up, wincing as my muscles protest. No catch. But if you want to stay here, you work. Draegar crosses his arms. I convinced Malgarn to give you a chance, but you'll need to prove your worth. I'm not afraid of work. The oats are thick and sweet on my tongue. I taste the hint of cinnamon and look at Draegar for a hint of deception. I take another bite. Been working since I could walk. Good, because there's plenty to be done. He gestures around the room. Winter's been hard on everyone. We need every able body. What kind of work? Whatever needs doing. Cooking, cleaning, repairs. His amber eyes fix on mine. Think you can handle that without trying to slit my throat again? I swallow another spoonful, fighting back a smirk. Depends on how much of a bastard you are. Draegar raises a thick brow. Fair enough. He moves toward the door. Finish eating. We start soon. I nod, already plotting how to show these orcs what a human's really capable of. They want work. I'll give them work until their green faces turn red with shame. Draegar takes Finnick and I to the camp kitchens, sprawling before the orc fortress that looms over the land, like a great beast. Finnick is tasked with husking corn under Draegar's watch, while I'm directed to the kitchens. When I enter, the heat engulfs me. Sweat already beads on my forehead. 3 female orcs tower over various workstations, their muscled arms kneading dough and chopping vegetables with frightening efficiency. "Look what Draegar's pet dragged in," one mutters in their guttural language. They think I can't understand them, but years of captivity taught me well. "Waste of good food, if you ask me," another responds, viciously attacking a chunk of meat with her cleaver. I spot a mountain of dirty pots in the corner and head straight for them. The familiar work grounds me as I scrub, my arms burning with each motion. The soap stings the cuts on my hands, but I don't flinch. Human. The largest orc woman points to a sack of potatoes. Those need peeling. I nod and get to work, keeping my movements quick and precise. Father taught me how to handle a knife properly in the kitchen before... Focus on the task. "At least it's not completely useless," one of them says, watching me work. "Give it time. They all break eventually." I slice faster, channeling my anger into efficiency. When the potatoes are done, I move on to chopping without being asked. Then to hauling water, to stoking fires, to whatever needs doing. Hours blur together. My back screams, my fingers crack and bleed, but I don't slow down, won't give them the satisfaction. "Here." The large orc tosses me a cloth. "Clean the tables, try not to bleed on them." I snatch the rag one-handed while balancing a stack of bowls in the other. Their whispers follow me around the room, but I've learned to let them roll off my back like water. By sunset, every surface gleams, every pot is cleaned, and every vegetable is prepped for tomorrow. My legs shake as I finish the last task, but I hold my head high.
Chapter 16. Draegar. The next day, I watch over Erin in the kitchen. I stake my spot in a place beyond her line of vision, near the sparring rings. I lean against a wooden support beam, watching Erin work through the steam rising from the cooking pots. Her movements are precise and methodical, despite the exhaustion evident in the slight tremor of her hands. The kitchen matrons cast sideways glances at her, their tusked mouths twisted in contempt. "Look at it, acting like it belongs here," Gasha mutters, her thick arms crossed over her chest. "Careful," Morta responds. "That's Draegar's new pet." I clench my jaw but remain still, observing. Erin lifts a heavy pot of vegetables without complaint, her spine straight despite the strain. She's proving herself useful. More than useful. The kitchen's never been this organized. Gasha shoulders past Erin, jostling her as she carries a pot of scalding soup. "Watch yourself, human." "I'm watching myself," Erin says, her voice steady. "Are you?" The kitchen goes quiet. Gasha's eyes narrow and she turns, deliberately tipping her pot. The soup splashes toward Erin's feet. I push off from the beam and cross the sparring ring in 3 strides. "Is there a problem here?" The orc women stiffen, their heads bowing slightly. Gasha's face pales to a sickly shade of green. "No, sir," she mumbles. "Good. Because it would be unfortunate if I had to explain to Malgarn why his best soup cook was reassigned to latrine duty." I step closer, letting my shadow fall over them. "Wouldn't it?" "Yes, sir." "Back to work." Erin, however, glares at me, green eyes flickering like wildfire. Later that night, I'm stirring the hearth fire when Erin bursts through the door, her face flushed with anger. Finnick startles from his spot near the window, but I wave him back to his task of sorting dried herbs. "You had no right to step in." Erin's hands ball into fists at her sides. I can handle myself. Clearly. I continue stoking the flames, keeping my movements measured and calm. Don't patronize me. She steps between me and the fire. I've survived worse than some petty kitchen bullies. Is that what you think this is about? I set the poker aside and meet her blazing green eyes. Surviving? What else would it be about? Thriving. I lean back against the wall, crossing my arms. There's a difference between existing and living, Erin. Don't pretend you care about my quality of life. Her voice cracks slightly. I'm just another asset to be managed. If that were true, I'd have let them break you in the interrogation room. Her breath catches and something flickers across her face. Uncertainty, maybe. Then why did you interfere today? I can handle myself. I'm no weakling. I've never thought you were. I straighten up, towering over her small frame. But you can't be strong if you're dead from a convenient kitchen accident. I don't need your protection. No, I agree. But you have it anyway. A choked sob breaks through our heated exchange. Finnick huddles in the corner, tears streaming down his hollowed cheeks. The herbs he was sorting lie scattered across the floor. Erin's anger evaporates. She rushes to him, her movements fluid and practiced. Hey, it's all right. She pulls him close, and he buries his face in her shoulder. I've got you. She rocks the young boy back and forth in her arms, his small body pressed into chest. Did our conversation frighten you? Erin asks softly. Finnick nods his head, and Erin paws his head unevenly cut hair. I step back, giving them space. I watch her continue to stroke his hair, whispering soft words of comfort. She reaches into her tunic and pulls out a small, worn book, the one she somehow smuggled into her cell and apparently out of it. Want to hear more about Valentine's Day? She opens to a dog-eared page. The spine creaks as she smooths it flat. Finnick nods against her chest, his breathing still hitched but calming. Erin's voice fills my home as she reads aloud. Their eyes met across the crowded marketplace, she begins. The young girl was selling flowers, and the gentleman was just another soldier passing through. But when he stopped at her stall, time seemed to slow. Finnick's breathing steadies as he curls closer to her. The firelight catches the copper in Erin's hair as she continues. He bought a single rose, but lingered. They talked until the sun set, about everything and nothing. When he finally left, she pressed a second flower into his hand. No charge, she said. Just a reason to come back tomorrow. Her voice softens. And he did come back every day that week, until flowers weren't the reason anymore. They married that spring, surrounded by the blooms from her garden. And every year after, on the day they met, he brought her a single rose, to remember the moment love changed everything. I lean against the wall, transfixed. Her voice grows stronger as she reads, painting pictures of a world I've never known, one where strength isn't measured in blood spilled or battles won. Finnick's eyes drift closed, his small body relaxing against her. She continues reading, even after his breathing evens out in sleep. This isn't survival. This is love. Pure and fierce and unbreakable.
From the depths of the darkness of Protheka,
Or clawing up from the realms of fantasy.
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love,
Vampires.
demons,
Dark elves.
gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Protheka fantasy romance bundle.
For 80% off, right now, Dive into Protheka at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprotheka.com. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this romantasy bundle will make it endless. Chapter 17. Erin. The frost bites through my worn boots as I trudge behind the orc gathering party. My arms strain under the weight of branches, each step threatening to send me face first into the snow. "Move faster, human," an orc with a crooked tusk barks. "We haven't got all day." "Maybe if you carried your own weight instead of watching me do it all." The words slip out before I can stop them. A chorus of growls erupts around me. The crooked tusked orc steps closer. "What did you say?" "Nothing." I heft another branch onto my pile. "Careful with that mouth," another orc sneers. "Wouldn't want anything to happen to that little boy back at camp." My fingers tighten around the rough bark. Don't react. Don't give them the satisfaction. The bundle grows heavier with each addition until my arms shake. One misstep on the icy ground sends me sprawling, wood scattering across the snow. Laughter erupts around me. Look at the weak little human. Can't even carry a proper load. My palms sting from the fall, but I push myself up. One piece at a time, I gather the scattered wood, ignoring the burning in my muscles and the jeers above me. "What's wrong? Need help, little one?" The crooked tusked orc's voice drips with mockery. I straighten up with the full bundle in my arms, meeting his gaze. "Number, I've got it." Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe even a hint of respect. The other orcs fall quiet as I continue walking, my steps even despite the weight. I keep moving forward, hiding my smile. Let them underestimate me. I've survived worse than this. That evening, Draegar returns to the cottage with a large iron pot, steaming trailing from beneath the cloth. He ducks through the entrance. My muscles tense instinctively, but Finnick perks up at the smell. "Kitchen had extras," Draegar says, setting the bundle on the rough-hewn table. "Would be a waste to throw it out." The cloth falls away to reveal thick slices of bread and chunks of still warm meat. My stomach clenches at the sight, but I stay where I am, watching as Finnick's eyes go wide. "Go ahead," I tell him softly. He doesn't need to be told twice. Finnick's hands tremble as he takes his first bite, tears streaming down his hollow cheeks. He makes these little whimpering sounds between mouthfuls that break my heart. "Slow down," I say, moving to his side. "You'll make yourself sick." Draegar shifts his weight. "There's enough for both of you." I search his eyes for some hidden agenda, some trick or trap. But all I see is that same unsettling concern I've noticed before. "Thank you," I say stiffly, taking a piece of bread. The words feel strange on my tongue. When was the last time I thanked an orc for anything? "Don't mention it." He turns to leave, then pauses. "You worked hard today, both of you." I watch him go, chewing slowly on the fresh bread. It's still warm and definitely not left over. I worked in those kitchens all day. I know what they served. But I'm not about to call him out on his lie, not when Finnick's hollow cheeks are finally getting some colour back. "He's nice," Finnick whispers between bites, "for an orc." I run my fingers through his tangled hair. An orc is an orc, Finn. But even as I say it, I'm not sure I believe it anymore. What kind of game is Draegar playing? And why do I keep catching myself hoping it isn't a game at all? Later that night, when the last embers of the fire have guttered and both Draegar and Finnick have fallen asleep, I watch the moonlight filter through the cracks in Draegar's roof. Finnick's steady breathing beside me should be comforting, but sleep refuses to come. My mind wanders to thoughts of Draegar. How can he act so differently from the others? It has to be a trick, some elaborate game to get information about the clan. They're all the same. Monsters who tear families apart and treat humans like cattle. But then, why did he stop them from hurting Finnick? Why does he keep bringing us extra food? Erin, Finnick whispers groggily, as if reading my thoughts. Can we stay here? I pull him closer, letting his warmth chase away some of the cold emptiness lingering. Try to sleep, little one. Tomorrow's another long day. But as Finnick's breathing evens out again, I keep staring at those shadows, trying to make sense of an orc who defies everything I thought I knew about their kind. Yes, Draegar has shown kindness beyond my expectations for his kind, and yet I still don't trust him. Not entirely. I watch the silhouette of his large body, all muscle and strength, rise and fall. For now, I can trust his actions, but not his intentions.
Chapter 18. Draegar. I watch Erin haul another load of stones across the yard. The winter wind whips her hair around her face, but she doesn't pause to brush it away. Below, Gasha's booming voice carries up to me. Those stones need to be stacked higher, human. What's wrong? Too heavy for your weak arms. Erin doesn't respond. She simply readjusts her grip and adds another layer to the wall. Her fingers are raw and bleeding, but she keeps working. Interesting pet you've acquired, Korgath says, coming to stand beside me. The men can't stop talking about her. She's not a pet. No? Then what is she? He crosses his arms. Word is she's out working the kitchen staff. Took on double shifts in the smokehouses yesterday, even volunteered for the night watch. She's proving her worth. That's one way to put it. Below us, Erin starts on another load of stones. A young warrior tries to take the pile from her, but she shoulders past him. Don't, she says, voice sharp. I can manage. Stubborn little thing, Korgath muses, though I suppose she'd have to be, to survive what she has. I watch as she stacks the stones with precise movements, each one perfectly aligned. The wall grows steadily higher. The elders are starting to notice, Korgath continues. Even old Grimtusk admitted she works harder than half his sons. Good. Maybe they'll finally see what I've been trying to tell them. That humans aren't just prey? I don't answer. Down in the yard, Erin wipes sweat from her brow and starts on another load. I huff a laugh to myself. Of all my centuries, I've never witnessed a human so stubbornly determined. Later that night, Malgarn calls for an emergency council meeting. The longhouse fills with angry mutters as Grimtusk pounds his fist on the table. 2 more mouths to feed when we can barely sustain our own! I straighten my spine, meeting Malgarn's calculating gaze. The human woman completed 3 days of work in one. Ask anyone who saw her on the battlements. And what of the boy? Malgarn's voice cuts through the din. What use is a half-starved child? He helps in the kitchens, I say. Smaller hands mean less waste when cleaning the fish. The cooks say he's quick to learn. Bah, Grimtusk spits. We could train our own young for such tasks. Our young aren't willing to do such work, I counter. When's the last time you saw an orc child volunteer for kitchen duty? Korgath clears his throat. The woman did repair the granary roof. During the storm, no less. Saved us losing half our grain stores. One good deed doesn't earn them a place here, another elder growls. Together they consume less than a single warrior, I say, keeping my voice level. Yet the woman's work output matches 3 of our strongest. I've watched her. She doesn't stop, doesn't complain, doesn't rest until the job is done. The room falls silent. Malgarn's red eyes bore into mine, challenging my words. I don't look away. Malgarn rises from his seat, casting long shadows in the firelight. Very well, Draegar. Keep your humans. But understand this. They're not my humans. No? His laugh is cold. Then whose are they? The clans? Because I don't see anyone else stepping forward to claim responsibility for them. I clench my jaw. They've proven their worth. For now. Malgarn circles the fire pit, his ornate armor gleaming. But one slip, one mistake, one hint of betrayal. He draws a finger across his throat, and I'll feed them to the wolves myself. That won't be necessary. Won't it? He stops beside me, red eyes boring into mine. The woman especially. There's something in her eyes I don't trust. Like she's waiting for the right moment to strike. She's surviving, the same as any of us would. Is that what you tell yourself? Malgarn's voice drops low. When you watch her at night, when you bring her extra food, when you step between her and those who'd harm her. I've seen enough needless death, and a dead informant means dead information. And I've seen enough warriors grow soft over pretty faces. He grips my shoulder, claws digging in. Don't let this be your undoing, old friend. The moment they become more trouble than they're worth, they're gone. Are we clear? Crystal. Good. He releases me and turns to address the council. The humans stay, for now. Meeting adjourned. The elders file out, leaving me alone with the dying fire and what I've committed to. One mistake, that's all it would take to seal their fate. I stride towards my cottage up the hill and away from the smog of the orc camp below. The door creaks as I push it open, my muscles aching from the long council meeting. The familiar scent of wood smoke and herbs fills my home. But something's different. A rhythmic scraping sound catches my attention. Erin sits cross-legged by the hearth, a rusty blade balanced across her knees. Her movements are precise, methodical, as she draws a whetstone along the edge. Finnick sleeps peacefully in the corner, wrapped in furs. She looks up at my entrance, and for a moment, I catch something in those green eyes I haven't seen before. Not quite warmth, but perhaps recognition. Found it in the scrap pile, she says, returning to her work. Figure a sharp knife's better than a dull one. True enough. I shed my outer armor, watching her technique, though most wouldn't bother salvaging that piece. Most haven't had to make do with less. The blade catches the firelight as she tests the edge with her thumb. Your meeting run long? The question surprises me. She's never shown interest in clan matters before. They had much to discuss. About us? Her hands still, but her eyes stay fixed on the blade. Yes. She nods slowly, resuming her sharpening. And you can stay. I move closer to the fire, studying her reaction. Both of you. The scraping stops again. She looks up, and this time there's definitely something different in her gaze. Not trust, we're far from that, but maybe understanding. Because we're useful, she says, voice flat. Because you've earned it. I settle onto a nearby stool. Not many would work as hard as you have. Her lips twitch, not quite a smile, but close. Not many have as much to prove. The knife makes a soft whisper against the stone as she returns to her task, and for once, the stillness feels almost comfortable.
Chapter 19. Erin. I think about Draegar's words from last night as I make my way down the thawing hill to the kitchens. You've earned it. 3 words that could tip the world. Before the other orc warriors, Draegar is stoic and imperious, a warrior that killed thousands in a lifetime. But around Finnick and I, there's a gentleness about him. I smile to myself. The morning passes as the kitchen's warmth absorbs into my bones. I scrub another pot, my muscles aching from the day's work. The fragrant scent of herbs and roasted meat fills the air. But something's different today. The usual tension has softened. Pass the salt, Gasha says, an elder orc whose tusks protrude out from her pillow face. Now. Her gravelly voice lacking its usual edge. When I hand it to her, our fingers brush, and she doesn't recoil like before. I return to my pot, hiding my surprise when she speaks again. You humans season differently than we do. We do. I keep my voice neutral, though my heart races at this unexpected conversation. Watched you with those roots yesterday. Never seen anyone use those green leaves that way. Time, I say, then add carefully. My mother taught me. It's good with root vegetables. Gasha grunts, but it's not dismissive. Show me. I hesitate, then reach for the herb bundle hanging nearby. As I demonstrate the proper way to strip the leaves, more of the orc women drift closer, their usual sneers replaced with curiosity. What else did your mother teach you? Asks a younger orc. Different things. I measure my words carefully. Each season had its own spices. Winter meals needed more warmth. Warmth in food? The young orc scoffs, but there's genuine interest beneath her derision. Like this. I grab a pinch of dried pepper flakes, letting them fall into the stew I'm stirring. It warms you from the inside. The kitchen grows quiet as they watch me work. When I offer Gasha a taste, she actually accepts the spoon. Her eyes widen slightly. Interesting, she mutters, the ghost of approval in her tone. We work in companionable silence after that, the usual barbed comments replaced by occasional questions about human cooking methods. It's strange, this tentative peace, but I find myself relaxing slightly as I explain the differences between roasting and braising to an increasingly engaged audience. Gasha gives me a curt nod as she heads out, and I see myself smiling. The kitchen's warmth lingers on my skin as I step into the crisp afternoon air, my footsteps crunching on the half-melted snow. A strange flutter rises as I think about telling Draegar how the day went, how the kitchen women finally saw me as more than just another human slave. The thought of his amber eyes crinkling at the corners, that slight tilt of his head when he's actually listening. I feel a rush of tingles down my spine. I pause at the bottom of the hill leading to Draegar's home. Our home? The thought catches me off guard. When did I start thinking of it that way? The same way I've started noticing how Draegar's presence fills a room, how his voice has a gentleness when he speaks to Finnick and me that I've never heard him use with others. Stop it, I whisper to myself, but I can't help the smile that tugs at my lips as I begin the climb home. Home, where Draegar waits. The word doesn't feel as foreign as it should. From nowhere, a gnarled hand wraps around my arm, tugging me into the shadows of an alley beside the fortress. I recognized him immediately. My former interrogator, Korgath. His breath reeks of ale as he leans in close, his yellowed tusks gleaming in the dim light. Well, if it isn't Draegar's pet human. His fingers dig deeper into my flesh. Getting mighty comfortable around here, aren't you? I try to wrench my arm free, but a second orc steps forth from out of the shadows, blocking my escape route. Let go of me. Or what? Korgath's laugh is harsh. Going to cry to Draegar? Hide behind him like the pathetic creature you are? I don't need anyone to fight my battles. I stamp down hard on his foot, twisting away as his grip loosens. But the second orc catches me before I can run. Feisty little thing. Korgath rubs his foot, eyes narrowing. Maybe we should remind you what happens to humans who forget their place. My place? I bare my teeth in a smile that's all edges. Last I checked, I wasn't the one nursing a bruised foot. His hand shoots out, catching me across the face. The metallic taste of blood fills my mouth as my head snaps to the side. Not so clever now, are you? He grabs my chin, forcing me to look at him. Think you're special because Draegar took pity on you. You're nothing but a... But what? My voice is steady despite the fear churning from within. Go ahead. Finish that thought. Show everyone exactly what kind of warrior you are, beating defenseless humans in dark corners because you're too weak to face a real fight. His face contorts with rage. The second orc's grip tightens as Korgath draws back his fist. but I see my opening. My own fist connects with his windpipe, backed by all the strength I can muster. His grip loosens as he choke in pain. I twist free, ducking under the interrogator's palm. "Get back here!" Korgath's roar echoes off the alley walls. My feet pound against the half-frozen ground, slipping on patches of ice. Blood pounds in my ears as I weave between buildings, taking the route I know best. The sound of heavy footsteps follows, but I'm smaller, quicker. "Someone stop her!" My lungs burn as I sprint up the hill. Draegar's home is just ahead, its wooden frame a beacon of safety. The door seems miles away as heavy footsteps gain on me. "Think you can outrun us, human?" I push harder, legs screaming in protest. The distance closes. 10 steps. 5, 3. My hand reaches for the door handle, fingers closing around the cold metal just as a meaty hand grabs at my cloak. I slip out of it, practically falling through the doorway. Draegar.
Chapter 20. Draegar. I guide Finnick's small hands along the whetstone, showing him the proper angle. The blade catches the firelight as he drags it across the surface with careful concentration. "Like this." His voice barely rises above a whisper. "Steady pressure. Don't rush it." The words come out gentler than I expect. "Feel how the metal catches? That's good. Keep that angle." Finnick's tongue pokes out between his teeth as he focuses. His grip on the knife handle is still uncertain, but there's determination in those thin shoulders. "Aaron says knives are dangerous," he says, not looking up from his task. "They are. That's why you need to learn to respect them." I adjust his grip slightly. A well-maintained blade is safer than a dull one. The rhythmic scraping fills the comfortable silence between us. Outside, the wind screams against the walls, but in here it's warm. Safe. Finnick pauses to inspect his work, holding the blade up to catch the light. "Is it done?" I take the knife, testing the edge with my thumb. "See for yourself." I hand it back to him. "Run your finger along the flat of the blade, not the edge, and tell me what you feel." His small fingers work over the metal carefully. A smile breaks across his face. The first real one I've seen from him. "It's smooth." "You did well." I muse at the pride in his eyes. "Want to try another?" He nods eagerly, already reaching for the next blade. I find myself smiling as I watch him settle back into his task, this time with more confidence. The door slams open with enough force to rattle the weapons on my wall. "Draegar!" Erin's voice cracks with desperation. My heart lurches. Her auburn hair is in a tangled mess, chest heaving. The knife Finnick was sharpening clatters to the floor as I surge to my feet. "Behind the table!" I bark at Finnick, who scrambles to obey. I'm 3 strides from reaching her when a massive green hand wraps around her throat, yanking her backward. Her fingers claw at the door frame, leaving desperate scratches in the wood. "No!" The word tears from my throat as she disappears into the darkness. Blood pounds in my ears. I know that hand. "Korgath?" Finnick's terrified whimper cuts through my rage. "Stay here! Bar the door behind me!" I rush into the night air. Erin's screams echo off the settlement walls. They won't take her from me. Not again. Not ever. The moonlight catches their tusks as they drag her between them. Korgath's meaty fingers hold her throat, while Korash, the one with a wicked scar cutting through his face, pins her arms behind her back. My blood runs hot when I see her feet kicking helplessly above the ground. "Let her go!" My voice comes out deep and dangerous. Korgath's laugh echoes across the empty street. "Come now, Draegar. We're just having a bit of fun with your pet." Erin thrashes in their grip, managing to sink her teeth into Korgath's hand. He snarls and slams her against the wall. She cries out, a sound that gutters me through. Tears stream down my face, green eyes connecting with mine. My blood runs cold. I won't say it again. My fingers flex. Or what? Korash sneers, twisting Erin's arms until she whimpers. Going to run crying to Malgarn? Tell him how we hurt your precious human? She's got fight in her. Korgath licks his tusks. Wonder how long that'll last once we... I roar and charge forward. I throw my weight into Korgath's body. Erin drops to the ground, gasping for air. You want to fight? I grab Korash by his leather vest. Here's your fight! He swings at my face, but I duck and drive my knee into his gut. The crack of bone is satisfying, but I don't have time to savor it. Korgath has recovered, barreling into my side. We crash into the wall of my house. My head snaps back against stone. Stars explode behind my eyes, but instinct takes over. I bring my elbow down on his spine, following with a headbutt that sends blood spraying from his nose. Damn traitor! Korash spits, lunging at me with the knife. I catch his wrist, twisting until the blade clangs on the ground. You're the traitors. My fist finds his temple, attacking one of our own. She's not one of us! Korgath wraps his arms around my throat from behind. I thrust my heel into his knee, breaking his hold. Spin. Strike. His tusks crack under my knuckles. Korash comes at me again. I meet him with a series of brutal punches that leave him staggering. She's under my protection? Each word is punctuated with another blow until he crumples. Korgath tries to crawl away, but I grab him by the hair and slam his face into my knee. Once. Twice. They lie motionless at my feet, blood pooling beneath their broken bodies. My chest heaves as I stand over them, knuckles split and burning. Neither one stirs. I turn back to Erin, my rage subsiding when I see her shaking form. She's pressed against the wall, one hand at her throat where bruises are already forming. Blood blooms beneath her shirt, now torn from the orc savagery. Her chest heaves with each ragged breath, tears cutting clean tracks through the dirt on her cheeks. Inside. Now, I murmur, steadying my voice despite the rage still coursing through my veins. Erin stumbles forward, collapsing onto me.
Chapter 21. Erin. The fire warms my bones as Draegar wraps a thick blanket around my shoulders. My hands shake when I accept the cup of water he offers, nearly spilling it before getting it to my lips. Thank you, I whisper, not meeting his eyes. My pride stings at needing rescue, but my gratitude is genuine. Draegar pulls up a chair beside me. His knuckles are split and bloody from the fight. I watch him dab at a cut above his eye, wincing. His movements are stiff, betraying the pain he's trying to hide. Blood trickles down his temple, and my stomach twists at the sight. I grab the cloth from his hand. You're making it worse. I'm fine. He tries to take the cloth back, but I dodge his reach. Right, and I'm the queen of the southern kingdoms. I catch him rolling his eyes at my sarcastic remark, but I ignore him. I dip the cloth in clean water, wringing it out. Hold still. His eyes lock onto mine as I lean closer, my fingers trembling slightly as they brush against his skin. The cut is deeper than I thought. This needs stitches. It'll heal. Not if it gets infected. I press the cloth more firmly against the wound, and he inhales sharply. Sorry. Don't apologize. His voice is low, barely above a whisper. You shouldn't be the one apologizing tonight. My hands pause their work. You didn't have to fight them. Yes, I did. I stiffen at the conviction in his throat. Your ribs are bruised too. I can see how you're favoring your left side. Nothing's broken. Let me check. When he starts to protest, I cut him off. Either you let me look, or I'll wake up Finnick and have him give you those sad eyes until you cooperate. He rumbles a low sound. That's fighting dirty. I learned from the best. I help him remove his shirt, sucking in a breath at the dark bruising spreading across his ribcage. They got you good. Worth it. His eyes find mine again. I'd do it again. I try not to show the flush creeping up my cheeks as I focus on tending to his injuries. And I've stitched worse. I find the needle and thread I spotted earlier on his shelf. You're not the only one who knows how to patch up battle wounds. His eyes track my movements as I thread the needle. Where did you learn? Survival doesn't come with a manual. I clean the area around the gash. Hold still. This will hurt. He doesn't flinch as I push the needle through his skin. The only sound is Finnick's soft breathing from his corner and the crackle of the fire. You didn't have to do any of this, I say softly, tying off another stitch. Taking us in, defending us to your chief, teaching Finnick. I glance over at the boy, peaceful in his sleep. Most would have left us to die in that library. Draegar shifts slightly, his muscles tensing under my hands. Is that what you think of me? That I'm like most? No. The word comes out before I can stop it. You're nothing like them. You see us, see me, as more than just... My voice catches. More than just a burden to be used up and discarded. You're not a burden. You work harder than half the clan. I clean around the fresh stitches, letting my hands linger longer than necessary. Still, thank you for everything. Stop thanking me. He turns his head, and suddenly his amber eyes are inches from mine. You don't owe me gratitude for treating you like a person. His eyes hold mine, and my breath catches. The firelight dances across his features, softening the harsh angles of his face. Before I can process what's happening, he leans forward and his lips capture mine. My mind goes blank. His tusks brush against my lip, but instead of fear, a thrill runs through me. His kiss is surprisingly gentle, almost hesitant, as if he's afraid I'll break. Or run. I should run. Every survival instinct screams at me to pull away, but my body betrays me. My fingers find their way into his braids, the beads cool against my skin. He tastes like wood smoke and something wild. The kiss deepens, and a small sound escapes me. His hand cups the back of my head, careful of my injuries, while the other pulls me closer. The blanket slips from my shoulders, forgotten. His thumb traces my jaw, and I shiver. The fire crackles beside us, but I barely hear it over the rush of blood in my ears. Tell me to stop if you don't want this, he murmurs against my lips, his voice deep and rough. Words fail me. Instead, I pull him closer, eliminating the space between us. His arms encircle me, strong yet impossibly gentle. The beads in his hair click softly as I run my fingers through the braids. The fire's heat licks at my skin, but it's nothing compared to the way his hands burn as they glide up my sides. Draegar's breath is ragged, mingling with mine as his lips trail down my neck, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. He pulls back just enough to look at me, his eyes gleaming in the firelight. Are you sure? His voice is rough, the words catching in his throat like he's holding back a growl. Stop asking me that, I whisper, my fingers sliding between us to finish undoing the rest of his tunic. It falls open, revealing more of him than I've ever seen, more than I've ever dreamed of seeing. My breath hitches, and I force myself to meet his gaze. I'm sure. His hands find the hem of my shirt, hesitating for a moment before he tugs it up and over my head. His gaze sweeps over me, and for a moment I feel exposed, vulnerable. But then his hands cup my face, his thumbs brushing against my cheeks. You're beautiful, he murmurs, his voice thick. Erin. I lean in, pressing my lips to his again, silencing any doubts either of us might have. His hands slide down my back, leaving heat in their wake, and I shiver as they settle at my hips, tugging me closer. His hands cover mine, guiding me as we work together to slide off my pants. The moment they're off, he pulls back just enough to kick the pants aside, leaving us both bare. The firelight dances across his skin, highlighting every scar, every muscle. He's massive, towering over me even as he kneels, and for a moment, I feel small, fragile in a way I'm not used to. But then he throws me back gently. His hands find mine and pins them above my head. My parents sold me to the dark market.
I am the avatar of chaos, and nothing will stop me from fulfilling the prophecy.
Looks like you're the only one left. Take a step forward.
It's her. She's the woman from the prophecy. My key to godhood.
This is Delia. Starting price is 3 ducats.
You will wed soon and restore the Enoch family name.
Okay. I'll lower it down even more. 2 ducats. Who wants to buy Delia for 2 ducats?
She is my mate. Destiny has foretold it.
You don't know anything about me, and you want me to marry you?
You're nothing but a human toy to be used and discarded.
Hold on. How about 1 ducat? Does anyone want her?
A gilded cage is still a cage.
6 ducats. 6 ducats for Delia. I'll give you revenge on your parents if you marry me.
Okay, I'll marry you.
Godhood is mine for the taking.
Chapter 22. Erin. My breath hitches as Draegar pins my wrists above my head with one hand, his grip firm but not painful. His amber eyes lock onto mine, and for a moment, I forget how to breathe. The firelight dances across his green skin, shadows deepening the scars that map his body like a story I'm only beginning to understand. His braids fall forward, the beads clicking softly as he leans down, his breath warm against my neck. Quiet, he murmurs, his voice low, almost a growl. Don't wake the boy. I nod, my lips pressing together as his free hand trails down my body, rough calluses catching against my skin. His mouth follows, slow and deliberate, leaving a path of heat in its wake. I bite the inside of my cheek to keep from making a sound, but it's a losing battle. The warmth of his tongue against my collarbone sends a shiver through me, and I arch into him, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. His hand moves to my waist, gripping me firmly as he works his way down my sternum, his lips brushing over my ribs. I clench my fists above my head, my nails digging into my palms. The tension builds in my chest, coiling tighter with every touch. When he reaches my stomach, his tongue flicks against my skin, and I stifle a gasp, my hips jerking instinctively. Draegar, I whisper, my voice trembling. His name feels like a plea, a prayer, something sacred in the quiet of the room. He pauses, lifting his head to look at me, his eyes dark and intense. For a moment, I think he might stop, but then he kisses the inside of my thigh, his breath hot against my skin. My back arches, and I bite down on my lip hard enough to taste copper.
Sorry for the interruption. I know you were gearing up for a steamy scene, but it's way too hot for this platform.
If we want to keep sharing our stories for free, we have to abide by this platform's guidelines.
To get the full unabridged audiobook, go to worldsofprotheka.com.
Browse through unabridged audiobooks, countless ebooks and bundles offered at a discount.
If the thought of me whispering all the dirty details into your ear isn't enticing enough, use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off of all digital products.
Story after story, audiobook after audiobook, the worlds of Protheka are waiting for you.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
But unabridged, it's unforgettable.
Chapter 23. Draegar. The morning light creeps across my face, stirring me from sleep. The first thing I see is Erin's face, flushed from last night. Her auburn hair spills across the pillow, catching the sun's rays like copper. The peaceful rise and fall of her chest mesmerizes me. Reality crashes back when I hear movement outside. Carefully, I extract my arm from beneath her, holding my breath when she stirs. She settles back into sleep, and I allow myself one more look at her face, softer now, almost angelic. My muscles protest as I stand, reminding me of last night's fight. Blood has dried on my knuckles and my ribs throb where one of those bastards landed a solid hit. I dress quietly, buckling my leather armor with practiced care to avoid the metal clasps clinking together. Finnick's quiet snores drift from his corner, wrapped in the thick furs I gave him. At least the boy slept through everything. Malgarn will be furious, not just about the fight, but about what it represents. My priorities have shifted, and he won't like what that means for the clan. I adorn myself with my weapons then, step outside. Daylight slashes across the sky over the thawing frost covering the hill. In the distance from out of the mist, I see an enormous figure striding forward. The silver flash of Malgarn's skull motif catches the light. I barely make it 3 steps before Malgarn's massive hand clamps around my bicep. His grip tightens, claws digging into my flesh through the leather. 2 of my warriors were found unconscious outside your door last night. His voice rumbles low, dangerous. Care to explain? His red-eyed glare flares. They attacked what's mine. Yours! He releases me with a shove. They tried to drag Aaron off in the night. Would you have me stand idle while they dishonored our clan with such cowardice? Cowardice! Malgarn's laugh is sharp as steel. The real dishonor is you, treating a human like she's worth protecting, like she's worth anything. She works harder than half our clan. The kitchens run smoother, I don't care if she craps gold. He steps closer, towering over me. You're losing sight of what matters, of who you are. I know exactly who I am. Do you? Because the Draegar I knew wouldn't risk everything for some human trash. My fist connects with his jaw before I can stop myself. Malgarn staggers back, more from surprise than force. Blood trickles from his split lip. There's the fire I remember. He wipes his mouth, grinning. Malgarn's split lip bleeds as he circles me, his massive form casting a shadow in the early light. You know what I've done for you? The strings I've pulled. I appreciate... No, he says with a snarl. You don't. Every council meeting, they question why we're wasting resources on your little pets, why we're letting humans eat our food, breathe our air. My jaw tightens. They contribute more than... They want you gone, Draegar. Malgarn stops, his red eyes boring into mine. Think I enjoy defending my right hand's peculiar interests, having to explain why my most trusted warrior is playing house with slaves. That's not what this is. No. He gestures at the unconscious orcs. Then what is it? Because from where I stand, you're throwing away everything. Your position, your potential future as chief. All for what? Some human you've taken to your bed? The accusation stings because there's truth in it. I've known Malgarn since I was a babe, and watched him lead our people through countless hardships. I didn't ask for this, I say quietly. Yet here we are. Malgarn spits blood onto the frost-covered ground. Me, breaking my back defending you to the council while you screw it all up over a human pet. Ah, she's not a pet, I growl, my hands balling into fists. You've changed, Malgarn. You used to understand the difference between right and wrong. Right and wrong! Malgarn's laugh echoes across the frozen ground. Those are human concepts. We are orcs. We take what we need to survive. Is that what you tell yourself when you order children tortured? He goes still. Watch yourself, Draegar. No. I step closer, my amber eyes meeting his red ones. You taught me honor. You taught me that true strength comes from protecting those who can't protect themselves. What happened to that orc? He grew up. He learned that sentiment gets you killed. Malgarn claws my shoulder. Those humans better start talking soon. I can't hold the council back forever. And frankly, I'm getting tired of this charade too. Or what? Or I'll have no choice. His grip tightens until I feel blood trickling down my arm. And if you try to stop me, I'll kill you too. Don't make me do that, brother. I wrench away from his grasp. You're not the orc who raised me. No. His voice turns cold. I'm the orc who survived. Remember that before you throw everything away for a human who'd slit your throat given the chance. The rising sun casts long shadows between us as we stand there, decades of loyalty crumbling in the morning frost.
Chapter 24. Erin. The door creaks open and my heart leaps at the sight of Draegar's broad frame. His shoulders slump with exhaustion, but seeing him ignites a warmth in my chest I'm still getting used to. I move toward him, eager to feel his strong arms around me. You look tired, I say, reaching for him. Let me... Erin. His voice stops me cold. Something's wrong. We need to talk about Stone Fang. The name hits me like a punch to the gut. My fingers curl into fists. What? The clan that held you. I need to know everything. Their defences, their numbers, their weaknesses. Why? The word comes out sharp enough to cut. Without that information, the council sees you and Finnick as threats. They won't let you live. Ice spreads through my veins as understanding dawns. Last night's passion, his gentle touches, his whispered words. It all takes on a different meaning now. So that's what last night was about. My voice trembles with rage. Get me to lower my guard, make me trust you, then squeeze information out of me. No! He reaches for me, but I step back. Don't touch me. The betrayal burns like acid in my throat. I trusted you. I actually thought... I can't finish the sentence. Stupid, stupid girl. It wasn't like that, Draegar growls. Last night was real, but this is about keeping you alive. By using me to destroy the only other people I've ever known. I laugh bitterly. They may have been monsters, but at least they never pretended to care about me first. Erin. Get out! When he doesn't move, I grab the nearest object, a wooden cup, and hurl it at him. Get out! The cup bounces harmlessly off his chest, but he stays put. You're being ridiculous. Ridiculous. My voice rises, making Finnick stir in his sleep. I lower it to a harsh whisper. You think I'm being ridiculous, after everything you've seen them do to us? Draegar's amber eyes flash. I've protected you. I've kept you safe. I fought my own people for you last night. Oh yes, my hero. The words taste bitter. Tell me, when you're done using me to find Stone Fang, will you protect the humans there too? Or will you just watch while your clan slaughters them? Those orcs enslaved you, beat you, starved you. His fists clench at his sides. Why would you? I don't give a damn about those orcs. I slam my palm against his chest, though he doesn't budge. But there are children there, Draegar. Mothers, old men who've never held a weapon. Humans just trying to survive, just like me and Finnick. His expression falters. Erin. What do you think will happen to them when your clan attacks? Will you save them all? Keep them in your house? I gesture around his small home. Or will they just be acceptable losses in your noble quest for resources? The silence stretches between us, heavy with unspoken truths. I watch his jaw work as he processes my words. You want to know why I won't tell you anything? My voice cracks. Because every time I look at Finnick, I see those children. And I won't have their blood on my hands. Not even for you. even if it costs you your life. Draegar's voice rumbles through the room, his amber eyes blazing with fury. A laugh bubbles up from my chest, bitter and hollow. Have you not been paying attention? I spread my arms wide, displaying the scars and bruises that mark my body. I've already proven I'd rather die than be anyone's pawn. And have I not proven myself different? He stalks toward me, each step deliberate. Everything I've done, protecting you, fighting my own people, giving you and the boy a home. Stop. I meet his gaze, searching those strange eyes of his. Beyond the frustration etched in his features, I find no deception. My shoulders slump as exhaustion seeps into my bones. The wooden chair creaks as I sink into it. Maybe you are different, I whisper, running my fingers along the worn armrest. Maybe you do care, but what about the rest of your clan, Draegar? I gesture toward the window where shouts and laughter drift in from the settlement. Are they as kind as you? Would they show mercy to helpless humans? The silence that follows tells me everything I need to know. I push away from the table, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. Even if I told you everything about Stonefang's defences, what then? You'd take that information straight to Malgarn. Draegar's jaw tightens. I have to. And then what? My voice rises before I catch myself, glancing at Finnick's sleeping form. Your warriors would march in, slaughter everyone who resists, which would be most of them, and take whatever they want. That's not... Don't lie to me. The words come out sharp as knives. I've seen how your clan operates. The strong take what they want and the weak. I gesture to my scarred arms. Well, we know what happens to the weak. His silence speaks volumes. The amber eyes that captivated me last night now refuse to meet mine. There's a girl there, I continue, my voice barely above a whisper. She's 12. Her name is Maya. Every morning she sneaks extra bread to the younger children, even though she'd be whipped if caught. I step closer to him. Would your warriors spare her? Draegar's massive hands clench into fists. Or what about old Tom? He tells stories to keep our spirits up during the coldest nights. Would your clan show mercy to a crippled human who can barely walk? Erin! Answer me. I press my palm against his chest. If I give you what you want, would any of them survive the night? The silence stretches between us like a physical thing. Finally, Draegar's shoulders slump. He doesn't need to say it. We both know the truth. Their blood would be on my hands, I whisper. Every death, every scream, every child left orphaned, it would all be because I betrayed them. I step back, wrapping my arms around myself. I won't do it. Not even for you.
Chapter 25. Draegar. I sink into my chair, Erin's words crushing my chest. My hands tremble as decades of ingrained beliefs crumble around me. My voice cracks. By the gods, what have we been doing? Erin stands near the hearth, arms crossed, watching me process this revelation. I'm sorry. The words feel inadequate. I've been part of this. All of it. The raids, the killing, treating humans like they're nothing but tools. My fingers seize the armrests. Can you forgive me? She takes a step forward, her green eyes searching mine. That depends. Are you sorry because you finally see us as people, or because you want something from me? I see you. The words rush out. I see how strong you are, how you protect Finnick, how you work harder than anyone here despite everything we've done to you. You're more human than I am. A ghost of a smile touches her lips. You're different from them, you know. I've watched you with Finnick, teaching him things, treating him like he matters. The others would never do that. I want to be better. My voice is barely a whisper, not just for you, but for all of them. We can't keep living like this. She moves closer, placing her hand on my shoulder. Then be better. Help Malgarn to see reason. He gains nothing from starting a war with the Stone Fang clan. Innocent lives, both human and orc, will be lost. She cups my face in her hand and I lean into her touch. Warmth spreads through me. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm thinking clearly. Hey, what about me? Where's my hug? Finnick's voice is small but playful, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. Erin's clear laughter joins mine, the sound making my heart lighter than I thought possible. Come here, you little troublemaker, I say, opening my arms. The boy doesn't hesitate. Something that would have been unthinkable just days ago. He launches himself at us, and I grab him easily, lifting him up as Erin wraps her arms around us both. Finnick burrows his face into my neck, his small hands gripping my shirt, while Erin's head rests on me. For a moment we just stand there, a tangle of limbs and shared breaths, and I realize that this is what it means to be human. Returning after my shift on the wall, I find Erin tucking Finnick in for the night. And humans would give each other little hearts made of sugar. Erin's voice drifts through the crack. They called them conversation hearts with messages written on them. What kind of messages? Finnick asks, his voice thick with sleep. Oh, things like be mine and true love. Sometimes just kiss me. That's silly, why not just say it? Sometimes it's easier to say things with sugar, Erin laughs. And they'd give each other flowers too. Red roses meant love. Through the gap I can see them by the fire. Erin sits cross-legged on Finnick's bedroll, one of my shirts hanging loose on her frame, the sleeves rolled up several times. Her auburn hair glows like molten copper. Did you ever get a Valentine? Finnick's question makes her pause. No, little one. Valentine's Day hasn't been celebrated since before. Can we have a Valentine's Day? I don't know if... We should, Finnick insists, fighting back a yawn. With sugar hearts and everything. Through the doorway's crack, I watch as Erin's expression softens. She tucks the blanket around Finnick's shoulders, smoothing his unruly hair. All right, we can have our own Valentine's Day. She pokes his nose. But you'll have to help me explain it to the big green grump out there. He's not grumpy, Finnick yawns. He just pretends to be. My tusks catch my smirk. The boy's more perceptive than I give him credit for. Hearts made of sugar, I mutter under my breath, already forming plans. The trading post near the eastern border often has human merchants. Surely one of them would know about these Valentine customs, maybe even have some of these conversation hearts. Erin's voice drifts out again. And they decorate everything in red and pink. Paper hearts everywhere. Even warriors? Finnick asks. Especially warriors. The bravest ones weren't afraid to show their hearts. I bristle at her words. Here I am, a seasoned warrior, skulking in doorways and eavesdropping on bedtime stories. But something about this strange human tradition calls to me. Perhaps it's time to show my heart, even if it means risking my pride. I slip away before they notice me, my mind already racing with possibilities. The old library where we found them might have more of those books. It won't be exactly like their human celebrations, but maybe that's better. Something new, something that's ours. This Valentine's Day might be exactly what we need to show everyone that humans and orcs aren't so different after all.
Earth is pretty much a desolate wasteland since the orcs came over from Protheka, and being a woman, the best you can hope is to be someone's property. Now, after my curvy body catches Korthar's eye, he'll claim me, and I'll serve him, in any way he pleases.
You're mine now. Listen to this story and more when you get the complete Orc Warriors of Protheka audiobook and ebook bundle.
40 books, 19 audiobooks, 19 ebooks. You even get 1 free novella and 1 free audiobook.
all for a shocking 90% off.
Protheka's magic is eternal, and the complete Orc Warriors of Protheka bundle will bring over 100 hours of that magic to you. Chapter 26. Erin. Where are we going? I whisper as Draegar leads me through the forest, mindful of how sound carries at night. You'll see. His amber eyes glint with something I've never seen before. Playfulness. We emerge into a small clearing and my breath catches. Tiny flames dance in clay vessels arranged in a circle, casting a warm glow over what looks like a picnic. There are flowers, actual flowers, scattered around a blanket spread on the ground. The scent of food makes my stomach growl. Is this because of the Valentine story? He shifts his weight, suddenly looking uncertain. I may have paid extra attention when you were reading to Finnick. But where did you get flowers in winter? The herbalist grows them in her greenhouse. She owed me a favour. He scratches his neck. I know it's probably not right. Human customs are different. I run my fingers over a soft purple petal. No, it's perfect. My voice catches. I've never actually celebrated Valentine's Day myself. I only know about it from books. Then we can learn together. He settles onto the blanket and pulls out various dishes. I convince the kitchen staff to part with some of their better ingredients. By convinced, you mean intimidated. I tease, sitting beside him. His tusked grin makes my heart flutter. I prefer to think of it as aggressive negotiation. The food is simple but delicious. Fresh bread, roasted meat, even some honey-drizzled fruits. As we eat, Draegar asks me to tell him more about human holidays, genuinely curious rather than dismissive like most orcs. The candlelight flickers across his face as I struggle to find words. I don't understand why you do all this for me. Because you deserve it. His fingers brush mine as he hands me another piece of honeyed fruit. Tell me more about these Valentine traditions, he murmurs. Well, humans would give each other little cards with hearts drawn on them. I lean closer, drawn to his warmth. And sometimes they'd write poetry. Poetry? His tusked grin makes my heart skip. I could try that. Your hair is like fire, I press my finger to his lips, laughing. Please don't. His eyes darken as he catches my wrist, pressing a kiss to my palm. The touch sends electricity through my body. What other traditions should I know about? Instead of answering, I close the distance between us, capturing his lips with mine. He responds immediately, one hand tangling in my hair while the other pulls me closer. Is this a Valentine tradition too? He whispers against my mouth. Definitely the most important one. His laugh rumbles through his chest as he lays me down on the blanket, the candlelight casting shadows across his face. Then we should honour it properly. I gasp as he tugs the fabric down my hips, bearing me to the chill of the night air and his searing gaze.
As much as Samara and I want to finish what these two characters have started, it looks like this chapter is about to get too hot for this platform to handle.
Unfortunately, we have to pause here because their guidelines won't allow us to reveal the spiciest details.
To keep bringing you these free audiobooks, we have to follow their rules.
But don't worry. You can experience the full, unabridged version over at worldsofprotheka.com, where the boundaries of passion and fantasy collide.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off any of our unabridged audiobooks set in the rich and immersive worlds of Protheka.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
With these scenes, it will be unforgettable.
Was that a proper Valentine's tradition? He asks, his voice laced with a satisfaction that matches my own. I laugh softly, the sound mingling with the crackle of the dying fire. I think we just started a new one. He pulls me close, tucking me against his side as we both stare up at the stars. For a moment, the weight of our world lifts, and all that exists is this night, this bond we've forged in the most unlikely of circumstances. "Happy Valentine's Day, Erin," he murmurs, pressing another kiss to the top of my head. "Happy Valentine's Day, Draegar," I reply, a sense of peace settling over me. Draegar traces lazy patterns on my arm as we lie tangled in the blanket. The candles have burned low, casting long shadows across his face. His amber eyes hold a tenderness I never thought I'd see in an orc. "We should head back soon," I whisper, though I make no move to get up. "Finnick might wake up." He presses a kiss to my temple. Just a few more minutes. I shiver as the cool air hits my skin. Draegar slips on his leathers again, his large fingers surprisingly nimble. "Next time," he murmurs against my neck, "I'll bring more honey fruit." Next time. I turn to face him, fighting a smile. Pretty confident there'll be a next. A twig snaps in the darkness. Draegar tenses, pushing me behind him as he reaches for his weapon. Torchlight suddenly floods the clearing. Dark figures emerge from the trees, surrounding us. My stomach lurches. I recognize Korgath among them, his face twisted in a cruel smile. "Well, well." His voice drips with mock surprise. "The chief will be very interested to hear about this arrangement."
Chapter 27. Draegar. Erin's warmth vanishes from my arms as they tear her away, and I spring to my feet. What is the meaning of this? The words come out guttural. Korgath steps forward from the shadows. "Chief's orders. The human's time is up." "Like hell it is." "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Korgath says. "The council's decided. She's had plenty of chances to prove her worth." Erin thrashes against her captors. "Let me go!" "Stand down, Draegar," Korgath warns. "Your judgment's clouded. Getting yourself killed won't help her." I clench my fists. "Take your hands off her." "Now?" "Or what?" Korgath sneers. "You'll fight all of us? Look at yourself, rolling in the dirt with a human. What would your father say?" "My father would say honor matters more than blind obedience." I take a step forward. "And there's no honor in this." "The boy's next," one of the warriors calls out. "Chief says no loose ends." The mention of Finnick makes Erin struggle harder. "You monsters! He's just a child." "Malgarn gave his word. He wouldn't—" "Oh, but he did." Korgath's tusks glint in the moonlight. "Said you've gone soft. Said the human slave has addled your mind." Liar. I take another step forward, muscles coiled. "I spoke with him this morning." "Things change." He shrugs. "Council met again. They're tired of your pet project." Erin spits at him. "Let me guess. You volunteered for this?" "Shut it, human!" One of the warriors holding her twists her arm. Erin gasps in pain. Something primal awakens in me. "Release her, now!" "Or what?" Korgath spreads his arms. "Kill us all? Then what? Run away with your human plaything? Face it, Draegar. You're outnumbered. And even if you weren't, where would you go?" I lock eyes with Erin. There's no fear in her gaze, only fierce determination. Even now, she's ready to fight. "Last chance," Korgath says. "Stand down!" I bare my tusks in a snarl. Malgarn would never go back on his word without telling me himself. "You're acting without orders." "Prove it." Korgath's hand moves to his weapon. "I intend to." I crack my knuckles. Right after I break every bone in your lying body. I roar and charge forward, tackling both warriors before they can recover. My head slams into one's nose, crushing cartilage. The other manages to slash my shoulder, but I grab his throat and squeeze until something gives. Traitor! Korgath swings his axe in a deadly arc. I duck under the blade and drive my shoulder into his chest. We crash to the ground, trading brutal blows. His fist catches my jaw, but I respond by slamming his head against a rock. A warrior rushes me from behind. I roll, letting him stumble past, then sweep his legs. As he falls, I grab his head and twist sharply. Korgath tries to crawl away, leaving a trail of blood. I seize his ankle and drag him back. Wait, he chokes out. The chief! I silence him with a boot to his throat. You threatened my family. The snap echoes through the clearing. Erin watches Korgath and the fallen warriors' dead bodies. All the color in her was drained. Are you hurt? I ask her gently. Not enough to matter, she says, not taking her eyes off the bodies. I survey the carnage, my chest heaving. We need to move, now. We scramble through the forest, desperate to get back home. I burst through my door, Erin's hand clutched in mine. Finnick! Erin calls out, her voice trembling. The cabinet door creaks open. Here, comes the boy's small voice. Smart lad for hiding. I grab my spare weapons from the wall. Erin rushes to pull Finnick from the cabinet, checking him over. Are you hurt? I'm okay. His eyes dart to the blood on my hands. What happened? Nothing for you to worry about. I strap on my battle axe. Both of you need to stay here. Like hell. Erin stands, positioning herself between me and the door. You're not facing Malgarn alone. This isn't up for debate. I grasp her shoulders. If this goes wrong, you need to be ready to run. Take the back path through the ravine. Head north. Draegar, promise me. I lock eyes with her. Promise you'll keep him safe. Her jaw clenches, but she nods. Just come back. Pack provisions and bundle up. I rest my forehead on hers, then pull away. Bar the door behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. How will we know it's you? I pause at the threshold. I'll whistle that Valentine tune you're always reading about. The ghost of a smile crosses her face. Be careful. Keep the boy quiet. I step outside, hearing the bar slide into place behind me. Time to have a chat with my old friend. Chapter 28. Draegar. The moon hangs like a cruel blade in the night sky, its silver light catching on frost-covered branches. My boots crunch through the frozen ground as I march toward the orc fortress, blood still drying on my knuckles. 2 guards block my path. Chief's not to be disturbed! I grab one by the throat. Move! They scramble aside. Smart. Inside, Malgarn sits at his war table, maps spread before him in the flickering firelight. He doesn't look up. Your humans still breathing. No thanks to your men. We had a deal. Deals change. He takes a long drink from his cup. Circumstances change. You gave me your word. And you gave me yours. That the humans would prove useful. His red eyes finally meet mine. Instead, you're rutting with one while giving me nothing. My fist slams onto the table, scattering maps and spilling Malgarn's drink. We were brothers once. Does that mean nothing? Brothers follow orders. Malgarn wipes the spilled ale from his beard. Brothers don't let humans cloud their judgment. Brothers keep each other in check, Malgarn. This isn't about the humans. This is about honor. Honor? He barks out a laugh. You speak of honor while betraying everything we built? The clan comes first. Always has. The clan or your pride? His red eyes narrow. Watch yourself, Draegar. Oh, what? You'll have your men try to kill me again? I lean forward, teeth bared. How'd that work out for them? Malgarn rises. his massive frame casting a shadow over the flickering candlelight. You've been playing house with that human girl, acting like some lovesick pup. It ends now. You don't give me orders about my personal. I give whatever orders I damn well please. His fist crashes down, splitting the wooden table. You want to throw away everything for some human toy? Fine, but don't expect me to watch you destroy yourself. The rage building threatens to explode, but I force it down. Is that what this is about? You're worried about me? I'm worried about the clan having a second-in-command who's forgotten what we are. He turns away, disgust evident in his voice. The game's end tonight, Draegar. Either the humans prove useful, or they die. And if you try to stop it, you die with them. I stare at my old friend, my brother in arms, and see nothing of the orc who once fought beside me. The fire catches on his scarred face, turning his features demonic. You've lost your mind, Malgarn, I hiss. And you've lost your spine. He circles the broken table, boots crunching over splintered wood. The Draegar I knew would never bow to a human. The Malgarn I knew had honor. His laugh is cold. Honor? Is that what you call screwing a slave? My vision blurs red. Say that again. What? The truth hurts? He steps closer, using his height to loom over me. You were meant to be my successor. Now look at you. Wrapped around some human's finger. This isn't about Aaron. I hold my ground. This is about you becoming everything we once fought against. I became what I needed to be. His breath reeks of ale. Someone has to make the hard choices. Murdering innocents isn't a choice. It's cowardice. His massive fist swings at my head. I dodge, letting him stumble past me. You dare! He roars. I dare! I straighten, squaring my shoulders. Those humans are under my protection now. Then you'll die with them. Over my dead body. The words hang between us like a drawn blade. Malgarn's red eyes search my face for any sign of weakness. He won't find any. The heavy wooden table flies at my head. I duck, and it shatters against the wall behind me. Malgarn's massive form barrels into my midsection, driving us both through the doorway. You've gone soft, he snarls, spittle flying. My back hits frozen ground. Snow swirls around us as we roll down the hill, trading blows. His fist catches my jaw. I recover, spitting out blood. And you've gone mad. I knee him in his gut, but his armor absorbs most of the impact. We crash through a weapons rack. Spears clatter around us. Malgarn grabs one, bringing it down toward my chest. I catch it inches from my heart, wood creaking between our grips. Remember who taught you to fight, he growls. I headbutt him, feeling his nose crunch. He roars, blood streaming down his face. His grip loosens just enough. I wrench the spear away and kick him off me. We circle each other in the falling snow, breath steaming in the cold air. Guards gather at the edges of the courtyard, but none dare interfere. He charges forward again. This time I'm ready. I sidestep, letting his momentum carry him past, but his massive hand snags my braids. Pain explodes across my scalp as he yanks me backward. We hit the ground again, rolling through the deepening snow. His weight pins me down, hands closing around my throat. I'll kill that human girl myself, he hisses. Make you watch. The world goes red. Something snaps inside me. My hands find his throat, and I surge upward with strength I didn't know I possessed. We roll through the snow, trading savage blows that echo across the courtyard. The clan forms a circle around us, their breath steaming in the frigid air. Torchlight casts dancing shadows across their faces as they watch their leaders tear each other apart. Malgarn punches me, sending stars across my vision. His knee drives into my ribs, but I catch his next punch and twist, hearing bones crack. I taught you everything! He roars, swinging his broken hand like a club. I duck under it. Not everything! My elbow catches his temple. He staggers but doesn't fall. Blood runs down both our faces now, freezing in the bitter cold. Malgarn charges again, but his rage makes him sloppy. I sidestep and drive my knee into his stomach. As he doubles over, my hands lock around his head. One sharp twist and... The crack echoes across the silent courtyard. Malgarn's massive body crumples into the blood-stained snow. His red eyes, once burning with such intensity, now stare emptily at the star-filled sky. My chest heaves as I stand over him. I drop to one knee beside his body, ignoring the watching crowd. "May you find peace on the other side," I whisper, closing his eyes with trembling fingers. The wind douses the last warmth of the man who was once my brother in all but blood. The orc warriors have now gathered around the sparring field, but they maintain their distance, their breath clouding in the frigid air. No one moves, no one speaks. The only sound is the whisper of falling snow and the crackle of distant torches. "Get him inside," I order, my voice hoarse. Two warriors step forward hesitantly, then lift Malgarn's body with careful reverence. An elder approaches, his weathered face lined with concern. "The burial rites will be performed properly." I spit a wad of blood before I speak. He was still our chief. "Was," someone mutters from the crowd. The word echoes across the courtyard, heavy with meaning. I rise slowly, every muscle screaming in protest. My gaze sweeps across the gathered faces, some fearful, others calculating, a few nodding with grim acceptance. They know what this means. By our laws, by our traditions, I've claimed leadership through combat. The snow continues to fall, covering the blood-stained ground where moments ago I killed the closest thing I had to a father. The reality of what I've done, what I must do next, settles onto my shoulders. A younger warrior steps forward, hand on his weapon. My body tenses, ready for another fight. But he drops to one knee, head bowed. "Chief," he says simply. One by one the others follow suit, until the entire courtyard kneels in the falling snow. All except the elder, who watches me with knowing eyes. "What now, boy?" he asks softly, using the name Malgarn once called me. I look down at my bloodied hands. Now we change?
Chapter 29. Erin. The door creaks open, and my heart leaps into my throat. I see Draegar's hulking form silhouetted against the dawn sky. His knuckles are bloody, and his chest heaves with each breath. Finnick peeks out from behind me, his small fingers digging into my leg. "You're hurt," I say, rushing forward. My hands hover over the gashes across his chest, unsure where to start. "Better than Malgarn." A weak smile plays at his lips before he stumbles. I catch his weight as best I can, though he's twice my size. "Sit before you fall." I guide him to a chair. "Finnick, get the water and clothes." Draegar catches my wrist as I start cleaning his wounds. "It's done. The clan is mine now." "What does that mean?" My voice trembles. "It means you're safe." His eyes bore into me, deep and alive despite his exhaustion. "Both of you, no more hiding, no more fear." Finnick returns with supplies, his steps hesitant. Are the bad orcs gone?" "Come here, little one." Draegar's voice softens. When Finnick approaches, he places a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "Anyone who tries to harm you or Erin will answer to me now. I'm the new chief." The word plunges to my stomach. Chief. As though reading my thoughts, Draegar says, "Things will be different now." He winces as I clean a particularly deep gash on his shoulder. "No more raids on human villages. No more enslaving the innocent." My hands pause. The clan won't accept that easily. They'll learn. His fingers brush my cheek, leaving a smear of blood. Or they'll leave. I won't continue Malgarn's legacy of cruelty. Finnick inches closer, his small hand reaching out to touch one of Draegar's braids. You promise? I promise, little one. Draegar's voice cracks with emotion. No child will ever again be torn from their family under my leadership. Years of fear and pain crashes over me, and I collapse against Draegar's chest, not caring about the blood or dirt. His arms encircle me, and I feel Finnick squeeze between us. What about the other humans? I ask into his chest. The ones still enslaved by other clans? We'll find them. His chest rumbles. Free them. Give them a choice. Stay or go home. Home, Finnick whispers. I don't remember mine anymore. I pull back to look at him, tears stinging my eyes. Then we'll make a new one. Right here. Draegar's hand covers mine where it rests on his chest. Together, he says. All of us. For the first time since I was taken from my village, I let myself believe in tomorrow. I never thought I'd see this, I whisper. An orc chief who frees the humans from slavery. What did you think of me when we first met? Draegar catches my hand, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. You mean when I held a knife to your throat? A small laugh escapes me. I thought you were like all the others, just another monster wearing a different face. His eyes soften. And now? Now? The words catch. Now I see someone who risked everything to protect a scrawny human woman and a half-starved boy. Someone who fought his own chief, his own people, to do what's right. You're hardly scrawny. His lips quirk up. You nearly took my head off that first night. I would have tried. I lean against his chest, careful of his injuries. But I'm glad I failed. As am I. He wraps an arm around me and scoops Finnick closer in between us. Though I must admit, watching you try to kill me was rather impressive. Such a romantic. I roll my eyes but can't hide my smile. Most men don't find assassination attempts so endearing. Most men haven't met you. His voice grows serious. You showed me what true strength looks like, Erin. Not the kind that comes from muscle or blade, but from here. He places his hand over my heart. Sweet talk won't make me forget you need rest. I pull away, fixing him with a stern look. Chief or not, those wounds need time to heal. As you command. Draegar grazes my jaw with his knuckles, his touch impossibly gentle for hands that just won a battle for leadership. We'll build something new here, something better. And what exactly does better look like? I lean into his touch, still hardly believing this is real. No more raids, no more slaves, just people living together, learning from each other. His eyes gleam. Perhaps even some of those strange human holidays you keep reading about. Valentine's Day in an orc settlement? A laugh bubbles up from my chest. Now that I'd like to see... Hey! Finnick tugs at my sleeve, his other hand pulling at Draegar's leather armour. What about me? Do I get holidays too? Come here, you. I scoop him up, and Draegar's arm wraps around us both. You get all the holidays, and proper meals, and maybe even some new clothes that actually fit. Finnick's eyes go wide. Really? Can they be green like Draegar's skin? Whatever colour you want, Draegar rumbles, ruffling Finnick's hair. Though I think you'd look better in blue. You're both ridiculous. I hide my smile against Draegar's chest, Finnick squished between us in a tangle of limbs and laughter. Perhaps, Draegar agrees, his chest vibrating with quiet laughter. But we're your ridiculous family now. Family. The word settles in my chest like a warm ember, chasing away the last shadows of my fear. Here, in this unlikely embrace between a former slave, an orc chief, and an orphaned boy, I've found something I thought was lost forever. Chapter 30. Erin. The winter wind nips at my cheeks as I watch our settlement buzz with activity. A year has passed since everything changed, and sometimes I still can't believe what I'm seeing. Orcs and humans working side by side, hanging red cloth banners between buildings, carrying steaming pots of food to the communal tables. I lean against the wooden railing of our newly built watchtower, remembering the day Draegar returned from Grommack's clan, my past prison, with what remained of its population. He'd given him the option: surrender the human slaves to him, or we would attack. Of course he was too proud, too arrogant. We lost good people, but we saved triple the amount. And now they're safe with us. Orcs and humans alike, those willing to attempt peace. The merger Draegar proposed wasn't smooth at first. I remember the fights, the suspicion, the old hatreds bubbling up. But hunger is a powerful motivator, and success an even better one. When the first joint hunting party brought back 3 deer instead of 1, even the most hardened skeptics started to reconsider. "The hearts are crooked again," I call out to Finnick, who's perched precariously on an orc's shoulders, trying to hang decorations. "They're supposed to be crooked." He sticks his tongue out at me. "It's artistic." The orc holding him, Grok, lets out a rumbling laugh. "The boy's got taste, Erin, unlike some humans who think everything needs to be perfect." I heard that. I hide my smile as I adjust another banner. Just because you're carrying my kid doesn't mean I won't throw snow at you. Getting here wasn't easy. The first few months were the hardest, trying to convince both sides that we could coexist. Some humans couldn't let go of their fear and hatred. Some orcs refused to see humans as equals. We lost good people from both sides who chose to leave rather than adapt. But those who stayed, they've created something extraordinary. The kitchen tent releases another wave of sweet aromas, human desserts mixed with traditional orc fare. Inside, my old kitchen nemesis Urka is teaching 3 human women how to properly spice meat the orc way. Last week, she demanded to learn how to make those strange human sugar circles, cookies as we call them. "Where do you want these flowers?" The voice makes me freeze. I know that voice. Turning around, I see Mira standing there with an armful of winter blooms, her dark hair braided with red ribbons and tiny white snowdrops. She's not the skeletal girl I remember from our days in chains. Her cheeks have filled out, and her eyes sparkle with life instead of fear. "Mira," my voice cracks. "You look fed?" She grins, shifting the flowers to one arm so she can touch the petals in her hair. Amazing what regular meals can do, though I still can't believe I'm decorating for a celebration with orcs. "Life's full of surprises." Speaking of surprises. She sets the flowers down and pulls me into a tight hug. "I never got to properly thank you. When word spread about what you'd done, convincing an orc chief to help free us, starting this whole peace thing, my parents would be so proud, Erin. They always said you were too stubborn to stay down." I swallow hard, remembering how her parents used to sneak us extra bread when the guards weren't looking. I just did what needed doing. "You did what no one else dared to try." She pulls back, wiping at her eyes. "Now, about these flowers. They're not going to arrange themselves, and I heard your orc gets grumpy when the decorations aren't perfect." "He's not my—" I start to protest, but Mira's knowing smirk stops me. "Fine, let's put them by the entrance. The red ones will look nice against the snow." A shadow falls over the flowers I'm arranging, and the familiar scent of leather and pine fills my senses. Before I can turn around, something brushes against my shoulder. Soft petals, not calloused hands. These were harder to find than killing a dire wolf. Draegar's deep voice rumbles behind me. Mira gives me a knowing smirk. "I'll find you later, Erin." She winks and takes her leave as I stifle a laugh, turning to face Draegar. "Snow's too deep in the valley," he continues. I take in the sight of my towering orc chief holding a bundle of purple and white wildflowers like they might shatter. His braids are dusted with snow, and there's a smudge of dirt on his cheek that makes me want to reach up and brush it away. "This is what I'm supposed to do, right?" Draegar asks once she's gone, his amber eyes searching mine. The book said something about flowers and tokens of affection. I smirk to myself. He's been studying that Valentine's book I found in the library, probably staying up late trying to decipher the faded words by candlelight. "Yes." I nod, unable to keep the smile from my face. "That's exactly what you're supposed to do." He shifts his weight, looking almost nervous, an expression I never thought I'd see on an orc chief. "Then, will you be my Valentine?" The laugh bubbles up before I can stop it, not at him, but at the endearing way he pronounces Valentine like it's a foreign spell he's afraid to mess up. "Yes," I say, taking the flowers from his massive hands. "Though I have to warn you, being someone's Valentine is a very serious commitment." He dips down, his tusks grazing my bottom lip in that way that sends shivers down my spine. The winter chill disappears against the heat of his body pressed against mine. When he pulls back, his amber eyes gleam with mischief. "Close your eyes," he whispers, his breath warm against my ear. "I have another surprise for you." "Another one?" "You're getting soft, Chief. Don't make me carry you." "As if you could—" Before I can finish, he scoops me up. "Put me down, you brute." He chuckles, the sound rumbling through his chest. "Keep your eyes closed." The crisp air whips past as he carries me, and I smell the whiff of smoke and something floral. Steam hits my face, and when he sets me down, the ground is warm beneath my feet. "Open them." The hot springs glow with dozens of candles, their light dancing off the rising steam. Rose petals. Where did he even find roses in winter? Float on the water's surface, creating swirling patterns in the natural pools. The surrounding rocks sparkle with frost, creating an ethereal backdrop to this hidden sanctuary. "How did you—" "I had help," he admits, running his thumb along my jawline. "The human women were very specific about what makes a proper Valentine's celebration." "You've been conspiring with my friends?" I laugh, pulling him down for another kiss. "Careful, or people might start thinking you're romantic." His hands slide to my waist. "We can't have that. Bad for my reputation." The steam curls around us as our lips meet again, and this time neither of us pulls away. His hands, once gentle, now roam with urgency, exploring the curves of my body. I trace the contours of his muscular form, the battle scars adding a layer of raw reality to the fantasy we're living. I pull at the ties of his leather armour, my breath hitching as I reveal more of his dark green skin. "Impatient, are we?" His voice is a low growl that sends a thrill through me. "Shut up and kiss me," I demand, my words laced with a playful challenge. He captures my lips in a searing kiss, his strong arms lifting me effortlessly. I wrap my legs around his waist, the coarse fabric of his trousers rough against my thighs. He walks us toward the hot spring, his movements sure and purposeful, despite the tremors of desire that courses through him.
This scene is about to get too steamy for this platform's comfort. And as much as we'd love to keep going, their guidelines say we need to stop here.
To continue releasing these free audiobooks on this platform, we've got to play by the rules.
The passion doesn't end here.
Visit worldsofprotheka.com to hear the full, uncut version of this fantasy romance, and every daring moment that YouTube can't handle.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off unabridged audiobooks in the Worlds of Protheka.
Don't let YouTube hold you back. Immerse yourself in a world of magic, danger, and unfiltered passion.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
Listen unabridged and you'll never want to go back. As I lay there, splayed atop him, I can't help but marvel at the strange path that led me here. From a frightened slave girl to the cherished companion of an orc chief. The irony isn't lost on me, but I push those thoughts aside, not wanting anything to mar the beauty of this moment. I never thought I'd find a home again. I whisper, now you're my home. You've given me a life beyond any hope that long since vanished. Draegar nuzzles my neck and murmurs, to our life that's just begun. Our lips crash together, and from above, the sun gleams down onto us,